just trying to change the world here, people.
Oh, really?
The Facebooking and the tweeting and the Instagramming, all that would not exist without our understanding of science.
So it's amazing how you do that as an insult. You mean true for you is different from true for anybody else? Yeah, absolutely, because I can't think either got to be true. No, I can't. No.
Good evening, citizens of Netlandia. Welcome to ORLYRADIO 108 for Friday, May 6th, 2016, where we dismantle the current events for your edutainment through mostly rational conversations that'll make you go, oh, really? I'm your host, Andy Cowan, with my usual suspects. I've got Michael Robinson, Fred Sims, Stephen Griffith, and Daniel Atherton. Welcome.
Hello.
Good evening.
Welcome to the Parliament.
With you. Yes, I'm taking my place again.
Excellent. Yes. And I hear that since the last time we met, you have gained employment.
Yes, I have, and now I've got other options. As always happens, once you finally gain employment, 15 other opportunities open in front of you, and I'm trying to pursue them all.
All the irons that were in the fire start to leap out at you.
Yes, sometimes violently. I've had to dodge.
Uh-oh. Well, hopefully you dodge in the right direction, and everything comes out smelling like roses. We had no audience feedback from last week's show, so either we did really well or no one listened, or at least nobody said anything. But you know, we're human. We make mistakes, so please, if you find one, go ahead and let us know about it. Email them in to us at orlyradiopodcast@gmail.com or phone it in at 470-222-6759. Or you can also text us. We get all that. If you leave a voicemail, we're likely to play it. Because I like that. You know? Come on. Feedback. We need to know. We need to know what's wrong. Tell us. Of course, you could also tweet us, you know, at ORLYRADIO. And also, there's the Facebook page. You can hail us over there, send us a message, and we will get it, and we'll let you know what's going on. Okay. So, ranty segments. So, Ted Cruz decided after Indiana, after he lost again to the Trump, to drop out. That basically made Trump the de facto nominee for the GOP. And then all of a sudden, Kasich dropped out too.
And then people had to remember that Kasich still hadn't dropped out yet, and they were like, oh, crap.
Well, you know, he was that guy in the back of your head that you really hoped he had some sort of chance.
No, let's be entirely accurate with this. No single Republican candidate, as far as I'm aware, has actually dropped out. And the frightening thing is, when it comes to this, the semantics are important.
Yes, suspended has happened.
Okay, so suspended versus dropped out are semantically different?
Yes, and also rules different.
They're practically different. Okay.
What happens is this. If you suspend a campaign, every vote that has been cast for you, every delegate that you have had before that, you still have. They are still yours. They do not get reassigned or anything else. They're yours. If you drop out, then those delegates that you gain get reassigned to the people who are still in it. What is happening is this is a standard and very common tactic where they will maintain what they've got until the convention comes around and then do some horse trading because, hey, I've got these delegates, I can let them go and let them go toward you or help you if you little quid pro quo.
Huh. So the Kasich-Cruz block could happen.
Could, yes.
Huh. Where Kasich trades his delegates to Cruz for some favor, insert thing here.
Yeah, it's political horse trading.
And then those delegates, if there can be more horse trades made from other people who have suspended their campaigns, move to block Trump and have a contested convention.
Or not even say move to block Trump to have a contested convention. It could, if it does contest it, if he doesn't get the number of votes necessary, then, yeah, they could move to say, hey, go for this guy, and completely shut Trump out and get whoever else they want in there. Or it could be, okay, hey, Trump, we'll give you the nomination, but we're going to expect a little bit of something to come back to us for that, you know, possibly, you know, consideration, not actual, but consideration of cabinet positions, things like that. Maybe, hey, throw some things, you know, say some good things about my state, or you owe me a favor later.
Well, Trump went on the record saying that he would consider Kasich as a VP, and then later on he would consider Cruz as a VP. I believe he's considering neither of them as a VP.
Well, no, he said he was considering them. They were on the list for him. Both of them have said hell no.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh.
Actually, a huge number of people said hell no. Unfortunately, Governor Voldemort also said no, that he likes his job.
You know who didn't say hell no?
No, he said, no, I like my job. So
Rick Perry said please.
Yes, he did.
After calling him in July of last year, calling Trump a cancer that should be excised from the party.
That's because Rick Perry is looking to, have a job and be relevant again in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm surprised we haven't heard from good old Bobby Jindal.
You mean former Governor Bobby Jindal?
That's why I just say Bobby Jindal.
Yeah.
I'm saying former governor.
Well, yeah, but the stuff about his state going absolutely into the fucking tank, and then as soon as he was out of office, it immediately started recovering. That didn't do well for his image, even among his diehard fans.
Yeah, sound economic policies are an amazing thing.
Yeah.
No, the thing of note here is who is not being viewed as any sort of vice presidential candidate by the GOP, which is Brownback.
Okay, what for the listeners at home that do not pay attention quite as much as we do, go ahead and tell them why that's important.
Well, again, Governor Brownback, governor of Kansas, has thoroughly put in place GOP economic policies for Kansas. The state is in a downward spiral, and it's coming close to hitting rock bottom. They are hemorrhaging money. They're having to make cuts left and right. Cutting taxes for the top percent has not brought jobs into the state. Has not brought money into the state, and in fact, it's bankrupting the state.
This is the state where, as we said before, they went from under a Democratic governor a $700 million surplus to, as soon as Brownback came in, a $300 million deficit.
Yeah.
So
and
a $1 billion swing.
It's to the point now where Brownback in his own state seems to be alone now. Most of his local GOP no longer have his back on his policies, though he's trying to push through the House and Senate even more tax cuts.
Shocking.
While cutting public programs.
Because how else is he going to fund the damn things?
So that he's trying to this will work, and keep pushing as it's being shown again and again and again. It's bankrupting his state. The terrifying thing, though, is while we have this abject lesson, a lot of other Republican-controlled states are going through with his tax plans, his economic plans, and are trying to push them forward into law in those states.
Yeah, for all of our listeners out there, quick history on economics and lesson on that. You hear all the people always talk about tax cuts, how great it is, everything else, but everybody has to remember, the government still has bills to pay, and taxes are where they get their money to pay said bills. So as soon as they cut taxes, where they got to get the money from? I'll let you think about that for a while.
They don't get it from anywhere. I mean, people, in particular, when I was living in Carolina, this was a huge thing because it's a red state and they want you to cut taxes everywhere. And then they would immediately turn around and bitch about how many potholes are in the roads. And I look at them and say, well, where are you going to fund the public works to fix the roads?
Yeah, it's like that shit's not
the government pays for that. Yeah, where does the government get its money?
You are the government.
Yeah. Remember, guys, as much as people try to dissuade you about this, the voting public, the people, the citizens of this country, are the government.
We are the government. We vote them into office. We pay them to exist. This is not someone else taking our money, or ideally speaking, it shouldn't be someone else taking our money to pay for things we don't want or need. Ideally, this is our money, everybody's money, going into things all of us use, like roads and power lines and schools.
Yeah, just little things like that.
Again, we need another New Deal. We need public works, because when public works, the public works.
I wouldn't
Yes.
mind seeing a $1 trillion spending bill that is all about revitalizing the infrastructure of the United States.
Because, dear
I'd be all
Lord, do
for
we
that.
need it.
Well, our infrastructure is decaying, but also, I mean, during that era, think of all the monuments that were built, things that have stood the test of time and have become means of tourism, driving those local economies. If we had something like that again, we would shore up our economy.
I mean, there is a reason that Republicans are terrified of a democratic socialist, because the last time we had one, he was elected 4 times, and he built a country that went through a period of unparalleled prosperity and growth for 50-plus years.
Well,
With a corporate tax rate of 90%.
also, let's look at Eisenhower. I like Ike.
Ike was good.
That was
And-
the slogan.
I didn't like him as much as I liked FDR, but he had good ideas.
Yeah, but I'm trying to meet people in the middle here. I know
Yeah,
FDR,
Ike was much more moderate. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to meet people in the middle here. I know most of us are, when it comes to the left-right spectrum, we're more on the left, but I'm trying to meet in the middle. And with Ike, I mean, the entire interstate system, that was under his watch, and that also is something that has stood the test of time. It needs to be reinvested in desperately, but it's something that gave something necessary to our country to improve itself.
Let's also not forget, you bring up the whole 90% corporate tax rate, and people scream, "Oh my God, I terror about that." But remember, under the policies they had there, if you did nothing with the money and sat on it, it was taxed at 90%.
Yeah, it's 90.
If you
It's
got an
90%.
investment,
It's 90% of profits.
Yeah, well, it was straight net profit, because if the companies, it encouraged companies, and they get a tax break for taking that money and growing their company and paying their workers more and doing all of that. That money was
reinvesting.
not taxed.
Yeah, it's 90% of declared profit at the end of the quarters.
It's untaxed growth.
It's not 90% of their gross product. It's not 90% of what they make.
Yeah.
The way that worked was that they have this huge chunk of money that they earned this quarter, and in that period of time before they have to declare it on their tax forms, they say, okay, where can we put this back into the company so we don't have to give it to the government?
Yeah, it's the same
And
way
that was a good thing, because it encouraged the richest of the rich to not give themselves huge bonuses for no reason, to invest it back in the infrastructure of their own company, which led to unparalleled economic growth.
Well, it grew the individual companies. Let's just map out how they reinvested. They would actually grow their companies, so they would pay for expansions, invest in technology, take that capital and invest it in improving the company, as well as that's where you had all those wonderful holiday bonuses and gifts that the company would give its own people. It was a tax workaround.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You could take that money and give it back to your employees, and it wouldn't be taxed.
And because that's because that is all a bonus is investment in your I forget what the economic term it is, but to the economy, people are capital. Your employees are capital.
Human
a
capital.
bonus to your employees is investment in that capital, which is tax free.
Yep. Okay, so we're in favor of a new New Deal kind of thing, where we actually invest in America. We're willing that. I would certainly be more willing for a big percentage of my taxes to go towards public works than towards bombing another country that is dubious at best.
And
if
we spiked those, we spike those corporate tax rates again and force them to reinvest in their own businesses, pay their people well, and all of that, I would immediately stop caring about the six-figure salaries of CEOs. Because they're taking care of their people. Now they really do deserve all the money they earn.
And you know what really grows jobs? A business going, hi, we need a new wing.
Yep.
Yeah.
New divisions, new technologies. We need to invest in our own infrastructure.
And And
badly.
just to briefly touch on that whole trickle-down economics thing, which has basically destroyed the country.
Voodoo economics.
Three times it's done it.
Yeah,
Three times it has
Let's
destroyed
take
the
that
country.
term voodoo economics and acknowledge where it comes from. That's George H.W. Bush.
No, that was actually Reagan's
trickle-down.
actual advisor.
That was Reagan's financial advisor.
But in running against Reagan,
Oh yeah, he used the term. Yeah.
H.W. pushed that term to the forefront of voodoo economics for the entire trickle-down theory.
True. Are you doing trickle down, Andy?
Well, with the trickle-down, it's basically the whole theory was if we give it to the upper crust, the
Job providers.
Yeah, the job creators, then they will obviously invest more. That has so far been patently false. They don't. They
don't. They
sit on it.
They put it
hoard
in banks. They put it in offshore tax havens. They move the money out of the country.
Well, what happens with the money is it does not remain liquid because the robber barons, the capitalists, the ultra elite, they don't need to spend it. That's the thing. They don't need to spend it. They do not need to put it back into the economy.
And that's another thing that I keep trying to explain to supply side economists.
There you go.
Because they don't get it. Money has to be in motion for it to have value. Unless money is moving through the economy, it does nothing.
Also, the whole simple idea of, yeah, you give all the money to this guy who's got $1 billion. Okay, how many McDonald's hamburgers can that man actually eat? I guarantee you give that same amount of money and spread it across 1 million people who are below the poverty line, they can eat a lot more than he can.
We know that that's how it works because that's what they did when the New Deal came around. That's how FDR saved the country.
Yeah. If you want the country to prosper, money has to be liquid. So the people that are keeping the economy moving, and that's a buzz phrase too. Keep the economy moving. Okay, they've said it, but they don't intend the meaning.
Practice it.
That the people that are living paycheck to paycheck aren't saving. They're not hoarding the money. That money goes immediately back into the economy somewhere.
Again, spending is what generates your economy. So you want, as you're explaining, you want the money to be spent.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for the creation of new jobs, there must be demand for product. So
there's not going to be demand for product if nobody can buy what you're selling.
Right. Which is what Henry Ford figured out when he was doing things. He was going to pay them a wage that was going to allow them to buy the product that they were making.
And that is why Ford took off.
That's why cars exist like they do.
That's why Ford was not the only one making cars, but he's the only one we ever hear about because his policy was sound. He's the only one who survived.
He built the auto industry because he was smart enough to go, hi, I'm going to go ahead, your guys are building the cars, you know everything about it, I'm going to go ahead and build consumers out of you, straight out the gate.
He didn't invent the car. He did not invent the assembly line. He did not invent the entire process, but he put it all to use better than anyone else at the time. So that's why he gets the credit.
Also of note, in his contemporaries, he deliberately designed and had made a vehicle for the masses. Because beforehand, a car was a luxury item. And it had all this handcrafting. It was moving art.
But he got it. He got that the only way that you're going to make a real business out of it is if everybody wants one and everybody buys one.
And can buy one.
Yeah.
Right. The ability to was of paramount importance.
Yeah.
Now, I think that since we've now dove down into the history well, I think we actually need to talk about other things that have happened this week in history.
I got a segue.
Brilliant idea.
I can do a segue now and then.
Yeah, we got segues all over the place. This week in history, brought to you by Christopher Columbus, who on May 1st, 1486, convinced Queen Isabella to fund an expedition to the West Indies. I think we all know how that one turned out.
A lot of natives dying, yeah.
Yeah, we bring that to May 1st, 2011, where Osama bin Laden was killed in Abbottabad, Pakistan by United States Navy SEALs in Operation Neptune Spear. Thanks, Columbus. See, you guys see that leap I made?
I do see that leap.
That's
wanted to say,
not a leap. That's
about
a
a
moonshot.
That's awful. You are a bad man. Your ideas are bad, and you should feel bad.
I don't feel
I
bad.
know you don't, but you
But
should.
my ideas are bad, you're correct. May 2nd, 1970, student anti-war protesters at Ohio's Kent State University burned down the campus ROTC building in protest. The National Guard took control of the campus on the 2nd of May. We'll come back to that. May 3rd, 1952, the first airplane lands at the geographic North Pole. May 4th, in 1626, we get the deal of a lifetime as the American Indians sell Manhattan Island for $24 in cloth and buttons. And then back to Kent State on May 4th, 1970, Ohio National Guardsmen opened fire on student protesters at Kent State, killing 4 and wounding 9 others.
Just a note about the American Indians selling Manhattan. You know, they did at least throw in the smallpox on the blankets.
But I'm bum.
That was a bonus.
Yeah,
That's awful.
it didn't state specifically like smallpox cloth or regular cloth. It just cloth and buttons. We want to hush that up.
Let's call it
The plague that you need.
And circling all the way back to Christopher Columbus on May 5th, 1494, he lands on the island of Jamaica, which he named Santa Gloria. So that's how that turned out. So close.
yes.
In,
Remember, we're America, not Columbus land.
Yeah, not Columbus
or Columbia.
land, and we certainly weren't the West Indies. So,
That's right. Yeah.
you know, we celebrate that day for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
May-
we're America because Amerigo Vespucci.
Yeah. No, Christopher Columbus, let it never be forgotten, was a genocidal, homicidal maniac.
Terrible, terrible man.
Yes, he was, and we celebrate that because America.
But
I'm assuming it's a translation for Columbus in some language. I don't.
But gentlemen, the spice must flow.
Yeah, but he didn't even get any spice.
I know.
He got some.
It
He
He
got some
failed.
gold and native hands.
Columbus
That's pretty much what he got.
is one of history's biggest failures, and he is lauded like he was a success.
He got
Because
some
we're
fruit.
idiots.
He got fruit and he got sugar, which was.
And-
a big
I mean,
deal.
Slaves.
we did get rum out of that deal, because the sugar eventually got made into rum.
That's true.
That's fair.
So
Somebody
there
else
is that.
eventually
Oh, no.
found the sugar with the intention of actually finding that place.
Guys,
He
it just
struck
occurred
out
to
all
me.
the way.
Guys, it just
What?
occurred. Columbus in 1492 sailed the ocean blue without rum.
Maybe
That
that's
is
why-
upsetting.
That is
No
a
wonder-
very upsetting.
No wonder he was such an asshole when he
There
landed.
we go.
There we go.
Answer so many questions.
Carry on.
Speaking of problems of the world, you guys may have remembered, the year 2000. May 5th, 2000, to be precise, the Sun, Earth, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn aligned. It caused people to freak out. The Earth's moon was also almost in alignment, leading to doomsday predictions of massive natural disasters.
I
Although-
remember dying that day.
This grand confluence usually happens once every century, so we're pretty adept at avoiding that, natural disaster doomsday prediction thing.
Meteorology, math, geometry,
All those things.
things that happen all the time.
And philosophy, as May 5th is a banner day, as both Soren Kierkegaard and Karl Marx were born on May 5th, just 5 years apart in 1813 and 1818. Fast forward to actual
Kierkegaard.
day in history, May 6th, 1856, Sigmund Freud, father of psychoanalysis, and on May 6th, 1937, the dirigible Hindenburg explodes in flames at Lakehurst, New Jersey. And I believe we have a little bit more on that.
The humanity! The
It
humanity!
Still makes me sad because that was literally the end of the dirigible era.
I would play the video, but you know what? I think we just need to move right along because we got a lot of traction out of the first segment. So
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
let's just carry on.
To say, though, if you find the video of that, give it a watch because the announcer, the emotion in his voice is, you can tell. Like, it was a big, big deal.
It's good stuff. I will put the link. Oh, I just lost the link. I will put the link in the show notes so everyone can go take a look at those out at our webpage at ORLYRADIO.com. This is for show 108, and this will be in the 108A section, should you be listening and want to find that link. Okay, so let's see. We have a logical fallacy. The fallacist fallacy. It's also fun to say. The fallacist fallacy involves rejecting an idea as false simply because the argument offered for it is fallacious. See how that's going? You know, that's kind of the slippery slope of logical fallacies. Having examined, see what I did there with another logical fallacy? Yeah. Having examined the case for a particular viewpoint and found it wanting, it can be tempting to conclude that the point of view is false. This, however, would be to go beyond the evidence. It is possible to offer a fallacious argument for any proposition, including those that are true. One could argue that 2 + 2 = 4 on the basis of an appeal to authority. Simon Singh says 2 + 2 = 4, so, or one could argue that taking a what is that?
Paracetamol?
Paracetamol. Okay, thank you. Paracetamol relieves headaches using a post hoc, quoting, "I took the paracetamol and then my headache went away. It worked." Each of these bad arguments has a true conclusion. A proposition, therefore, should not be dismissed because one argument offered in its favor is faulty. Example, people argue that there must be an afterlife because they just can't accept that when we die, that's it. This is an appeal to consequences. Therefore, there is no life after death, which we cannot prove. So again, this is a logical fallacy, the fallacist fallacy.
And real quick, I'd like to point out that I contend that all math is a victim of the fallacist fallacy because essentially everybody just happened to tell you beforehand that 2 + 2 = 4. So I don't trust any of that, and I'm going to start teaching otherwise.
I hate you. You need to stop.
No, if you want to really hurt,
stop immediately.
I have seen the build out and the proofs that make 2 + 2 = 5.
No. What?
Yes,
No.
Done.
No rabbit holes.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day. You know.
I hate you both. I hate you very, very, very much.
If there was someone in the group I knew would cling to the math and the sciences, I knew where it would be.
Yeah, it might be Mike. Just maybe.
I'm not saying that I condone the violence and the murder, because I don't. On a completely unrelated note,
Heavens.
I have a very nice alligator pond right behind my apartment building. Fred.
That better be a big-ass gator.
You know,
Doesn't need to be big.
I don't think that this may be a fallacious argument, but I would say never get into an argument with a pig farmer.
Fair.
Yep.
That's a good point.
You know, just a
point.
word to the wise, maybe. So, let's see here. All right.
Hi, Early Radio listeners. This is your host, Andy Cohen, calling my voicemail to make sure that it still works. Please consider calling us, 470-222-6759. Bye.
Science, bitches! Woohoo! So there's just a bevy of scientific bounty for us. Apparently, we've been doing some science perhaps wrong for an awfully long time. I know. Big shock, right?
Yes.
Big shock. Because that never happens.
No, never. Never
Never,
at
never,
all.
never.
We're never wrong.
Well, in this particular case, one of our favorite test subjects, and that would be the rather humble lab rat. They may be suffering the entire time that they're being tested through no real fault of even ours, but a typical laboratory environment
68 degrees.
is kept between 20 to 26 degrees centigrade. And mice, you know, if they had it their way, their natural proclivity would be to be in like a 30 degree Celsius range. Pretty warm. Pretty warm, which is why they like to be around wires and things like that. You know, when they chew them, you know, they're always down in the basement near the furnaces and things like that. They're trying to stay warm. because that's what their body's like.
30, incidentally, for those of us who don't speak metric, is 86 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's a
Pretty
warm
warm.
summer day.
Yeah, it's pretty warm. Nice day in Florida, so that's why they're all over. But in more northern climates, that can be difficult to achieve. So, and I don't know if any of you guys have been in a lab, but whoever's got their finger on the thermostat in there,
Laboratory standard
it's cold.
that you do for all that you put in for all the math is 20 degrees Celsius or centigrade. No, it is Celsius.
Yes,
Both work.
I think both.
That's right. They're both. It's the same. It's 20 degrees centigrade or 68
degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty chilly.
It's cold.
Yeah. Of course, they're all wearing lab coats, so they don't really notice as much.
Yeah.
So perhaps all of the studies that we've been doing with mice have been skewed slightly because the little critters are cold, and they're automatically working harder to keep themselves at their right temperature, because that's what mammals do.
Yeah.
So they eat perhaps more, they burn more calories to stay warm. Perhaps we're just doing it wrong.
Now,
Go
I
ahead.
think this. I mean, in some cases, yes, I think this temperature bias matters, but I think in other cases it doesn't. I mean, behaviorally, yes, they may be working harder and eating more, but when we do some of the behavioral tests, or when you're just, tracking a growth pattern of a tumor or something like that, I don't really think that's going to be terribly affected. Maybe the rate at which they work, but just what the result is, do they do X or Y? Things like that, I don't think are going to be affected terribly much.
Well, it changes their metabolism. So, basically the entire way that they live and digest things, and all of that is changed. And it also, I've been in a colder environment for a long period of time. It kind of gets a little stressful.
Oh,
If you're
actually,
if you're not well equipped.
one of the things that was noted, entertainment. Going to Top Gear, of all places.
Okay.
They did a polar special.
Yeah.
And they went and consulted a number of experts. One, you need to take a lot more food and eat more often when you're in a cold environment.
Yeah.
Polar is you burn more calories. Two, and this was the thing that was actually most surprising, was when talking to a polar explorer, you need to be ready to deal with the hatred.
The hatred?
Yes, because you will start hating everyone around you.
Cold makes you cranky.
Yes.
And
Cranky cold,
you will get in... It's not anger. So we'll get angry and irritable. No, it's not anger. It's hatred.
This is why I think that the Canadians are so nice. Because it's the people that can stay nice in that cold weather that survive, because the other ones are kicked out into the cold.
No, they're not kicked out. They just wander in
die
the
soon.
wilderness and are never seen again.
They're just politely asked not to come back, eh?
Well, maybe that does have something to do with
Could you
the
maybe go
entire
outside
Canadian sex trade.
forever?
Maybe go outside and go talk to that local moose.
We got a real moose problem. Oh yeah.
That moose will screw you up, man.
Like,
So-
what happened? No, that stupid
Really,
tourist went to
it's,
talk to the moose.
This whole study just it goes to show that we may need to take into account the actual environmental variables on the creatures that we're testing things on to get more accurate results. And yeah, unfortunately, with the razor thin margins that science is running on, it's going to cost a little more to do that, because then we're going to have to build better cage environments, better housing for the lab animals. But really, we should probably do that anyway.
Yeah, looking at the actual article, it says that their immune systems were slightly compromised and made stress on their ability to fight tumors. Also, it had issues with obesity research and neurobiology research because of the lower temperatures.
Yeah. And bad results at this level end up being bad results at our level. So if we want better science, then we ought to take care of the little things, like the right temperature for the animals. I think that'd be a good thing. There was another tangential story that I heard, which is actually where I heard this story from, which was from This Week in Science, another podcast that I highly recommend to anybody that has another hour. They were talking about some mice that were going through surgery, and the mice had a huge rate of death following the surgery. And one of the lab maintenance people noticed that the mice were not getting off the bottom of the cage to go up a couple levels to where their food was, because they just felt too fatigued from the surgery and couldn't move. So he just took the simple step of moving the food from that upper level down to where they were. And that changed the survival rate to 100%. From like an 85% mortality to a 100% survival rate.
Again, I love scientists. They're my people. But
Yeah.
we're still people, and we're occasionally idiots, and we do not think of the little things.
Yeah. So just that little thing went a long way.
Going back to being a supervillain, run every plan and every test by a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
If the 5-year-old can point out the flaws in your plan, you need a new plan.
Yeah, you
No,
explain the
no,
plan
no.
to the
You
5-year-old.
follow what the 5-year-old tells you and fix it.
Yes. Absolutely.
If you explain to the 5-year-old he doesn't understand it, explain it so he can understand it, or change the plan.
Yeah. Here's a fun thing. Load an old aspirin container or something. You know, a child-proof container. Load it up with M&Ms or something, and give it to them, and see if they can open it.
35 seconds.
I bet they
I
can.
bet you they'll find it. They'll
Bet
find a
they
way.
can. So
35 seconds.
little things like that. Okay, so another study moving right along. Two separate papers published this week, one in Nature and one in Nature Cell Biology, have reported culturing human embryos for nearly 2 weeks. Going well beyond previous efforts, there's no reason to believe that embryos couldn't have survived beyond the 2-week mark, but the experiment had to be halted to adhere to the internationally agreed 14-day limit on human embryo research. I found this article out in Gizmodo, and basically they're thinking that, yay, artificial wombs are one step closer to reality, which, of course, they are. But then there's that pesky thing of that 14-day, no, we're not messing with human life in a petri dish past 2 weeks. What do you guys think?
I can't wait to hear the screams about this if they remove that 14-day from the people who scream about abortions.
Even though this would completely fix the abortion problem, because then, well, you can just, if the mother doesn't want to carry it, you just take it out and put it in an artificial womb.
I think from a scientific and other standpoint, I agree with that. That's kind of where I come from. I've had conversations with a lot of women, and some of them would still say, hell no, it's still mine, and if I want it done, I want it gone. But yeah, no, I fully agree.
But
Also,
the point is that the existence of this technology eliminates that moralistic argument from the pro-life camp.
true. Also, I would also look at it in the way of women who say could not actually carry a child to term naturally without endangering their own lives.
Yeah.
Here's the solution.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
Where devil's advocate question maybe
Do it.
discussing how it eliminates the moral question in abortion. Where do they switch their argument to, now that the option exists for you to have that embryo removed and it get to viability and be a human being, that the women that are still choosing to have the abortions are just committing a form of murder to selfishly keep that? You know what I'm saying? Like there's an argument there. They're going to find an argument.
Of course there's an argument there. They're never going to stop being assholes, but this is still gives them less firepower.
Oh yeah,
Because
I
people
agree
are already making that argument.
I mean, if when we discuss things like this, especially, you know, it's a good practice to look for the argument, because we know it's there, and in a year, 2 years time, what's going to happen is this story is going to be awesome. We're doing human embryos, and the next week we're going to be having that same conversation that we just brought up as a devil's advocate question today.
Well, we've covered this question before, because this is not our first story on artificial wombs.
Oh no, not at all.
No, but what we're getting to is it's actually closer to a reality, and they have a limit of 13 days. Well, I mean, 14 days. So
14 days is the agreed upon international limit on testing of
Right.
embryos.
Right, and I know that in the story they talk about discussing lengthening, like what would they even use. They talk about 12 weeks, which is, I guess, in European abortion laws, or up to viability, which is
23 weeks.
U.S. abortion law uses. It's one of those things where that eventually you have to take the step as researchers to start doing this, because the things that it solves are so many. The people that can't have children, there's something wrong that they can't carry, but they want children of their own. And it's just, there's so many benefits that it's a question that they need to start answering more than just offhandedly. Well, what are we going to use if it's not 14 days?
Well, I wonder if they'd come down to the point of being concerned with the price. Okay, it is a technology that is available to prevent abortions. Now, who's going to pay for it? Because if there's one thing that a fundamental conservative would have to complain about, is how much something costs.
Mm-hmm.
And that they don't want to provide any prenatal care as it is.
No.
They certainly don't want to provide any post-term care.
Oh, hell no.
So there's being pro-life, and then there's being pro-birth. So we've created a way that you can birth as many babies as you want. In fact, we can just go ahead and load up test tubes full of them, and you can make just babies all the time.
Are you going to pay for it?
But
personally, I think that's where the moralistic argument should go. It's like, all right, fundies, you believe that human life is sacred and all that, so you're not going to let these people have abortions. You're gonna make it law that they transplant their child into these artificial wombs. Well, they have given up that child. They can sign it away on the dotted line. You fundies now need to pay for that child.
Exactly.
See, I think actually you're going to get intercepted here before we even get to the artificial womb thing, because most fundamentalists will look at this as man playing God.
You know what? That ship sailed when we started doing organ transplants.
It's true.
It's not gonna.
Fair
That
enough.
is not gonna hold water for any length of time.
But
Man has been playing God since modern medicine was a thing.
I'm doing the devil's advocate thing, though.
Y'all are both correct.
But I acknowledge that absolutely will be an argument. I'm just saying it's not going to last very long.
Yeah, it'll come up and it'll be shut down.
Yeah, real fast.
But this is one of those things that, we're going to keep talking about it because, A, it's really awesome technology and it leads to all sorts of things. And being futurists and forward-thinking people, progressive people, this is a thing that we're going to have to deal with one way or another. So we're gonna slowly nibble away at the argument, and maybe we'll stumble upon something.
Also, in a way, going worse with this idea is they make it so that instead of getting an abortion, you go into the artificial womb. Okay, what happens to the children after they're born? Are we going to have
whose responsibility?
Beyond whose responsibility, is it going to be more along the lines of we're going to have a situation like the movie Soldier? Okay, good. You've got all these children that are being born. Okay, no one's going to take care of them. The government does and trains them as expendable soldiers.
Yeah, I don't think we exactly want that.
Actually, in the comments on the page, they actually kind of an interesting question that somebody posed. I wonder if society would actually accept a single man paying for a donor egg to combine with his sperm for implantation into an artificial embryo. Being a single father, widowed or divorced, carries enough of a stigma, it seems. I wonder how people at large would react to a single man wanting to have a child without a mother ever being in the picture. I mean, when you look at
when
things
women
like
can
this,
do it.
Yeah, I mean, we look at things like this, and usually the thought we have, and obviously rightly so, because right now having a baby is 100% with a woman.
Yeah.
The thought is immediately to women, and what do women want, and how would it affect abortions and things like that. But I mean, that's an incredibly insightful question.
That's a good one.
For men out there that are single, or hey, I don't have prospects, or gay men, or something of that ilk that want children.
Yeah.
How would that be reacted to? by these same people that are losing their mind over the other moral questions we've raised.
So many things in that. Oh, I love
This
it.
is an entire episode in one
The
thing.
whole landscape of human morality is going to change as this advances, because now we've got artificial wombs, and we're also doing genetic engineering all the time. What happens when we get to the point where we can take genetic material from two people that are a same-sex couple and make a child out of it?
Or just at that point, you can also have somebody clone themselves.
Yeah. What happens then?
Just straight up cloning. And what does happen then? Because also,
because then we get to brain transplant, and I just keep cloning my body, so I stay young forever.
Well, your body would stay young, but your brain wouldn't.
Yeah.
So
it's still
that's the problem.
age.
Yeah,
that's where we have the entire thing with discussion with Michio Kaku about being able to upload your consciousness.
Yeah. This all reminds me of a book series that I've been reading that I must get back, and I'm going to reread it again, which is like 120 hours or so of Audible, and I'm going to then turn it into a game setting, because I think I need to live in that world a little more and to truly investigate all of the questions.
This is the one with the
This is Peter F. Hamilton's Commonwealth Universe.
Yeah, it's the one that opens up with the surprise Dyson sphere and the trains that go through portals and all that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a very cool thing.
I've read the original 3 not quite books thing.
Well, there was 2 books.
Well, there's the Neutronium Alchemist. The Reality Dysfunction, the Neutronium Alchemist, and the other one.
Those are in a different universe. That's not even what I'm talking about. No. We're talking about Pandora's Star and then Judas Unchained. That's the first 2 in this series. And then it goes into the Void trilogy. And then there's another book that he just finished writing, and then there's 2 more. So he's almost completed the series. It'll be out in print later this year. So, yes. But it expands like thousands of years, because, again, with rejuvenation technologies and cloned bodies and things like that, you die when you want to in this universe. So it's just a fascinating look at the way you then have to deal with people that are absurdly old, when some people might just be in their first life. Yeah. So it's just a fascinating look at things, and it raises so many questions that you just don't have in our normal day-to-day experience. So I'm going to go through it and really dig into it. I think it would be a rich environment to just mine for data. And we won't know
have to read this then
until we're in it. Oh yeah, highly recommend it. Okay, so let's move on to something a little closer to home, but still in the future. Elon Musk. I got 2 stories about Elon Musk. About his 2 major enterprises. SpaceX, he managed to do it again. He landed another rocket just last night on the barge at night and at a higher speed. So just SpaceX is doing
progress.
Needed more engines, but took care of it.
Yeah, well, that's fine. If you've got the fuel, he can do it slower, or he can do it fast. One way or the other, you still have to, cut the momentum. But he's got the technology, and he's definitely zeroing in on exactly what he has to do with that.
Yeah, the difference was for this one was the satellite was going into higher orbit, so he needed more thrust at the first stage.
It's just so cool. All the things that he's doing, so cool. Yeah, and the fact that it was at night. I mean, let's see here. I've got the video. Let's see. How long is this thing?
An hour.
Long enough.
Oh, geez, that's an hour. Screw that. Follow the link. Follow the link in the show notes, people.
Welcome to O'Reilly Radio, not sponsored by SpaceX.
That's right, not yet.
So if you want to SpaceX, if you want to Elon Musk,
if you're out there, we're looking for
sponsors. Bring it on.
Yeah, I'd be happy to fly your banner. That'd be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of other banners to fly, Tesla's Model X has a really, really good air filtration system. In fact, it has a bioweapon defense mode.
Huh.
That's forward thinking right there.
It Is that standard or is that an add-on?
Is that standard?
I think it might be standard.
That's the
That's
best
so
question
weird.
you
The
ask.
Model X.
Because only Tony Stark would go, you know what my car needs and I'm going to give it to the public? Bioweapon defense capability.
Yeah, Elon Musk tweeted out, bioweapon defense mode is real. This is what happens when you turn it on.
Wow.
Jesus.
This freaking guy. This guy.
He is
See,
our
people
Tony Stark.
People think about,
I don't
okay, let's make carpet standard, let's make these other features standard, let's make everything else. He's like, nope, screw it.
Let's make bioweapon defense
I want to
standard.
protect everybody from, weaponized plague.
The filtration system apparently held up to lab testing, and even according to Tesla, started cleaning the air outside of the car.
Yeah.
When the car goes, dude, your air is freaking dirty, let me clean that for you.
The car
We
is
need to
gonna
give
have
this
a
man
carbon
all
negative
the
footprint.
funding ever.
We need
Okay.
everybody to drive this. Suddenly, everything's great. Just replace every single car in Beijing with one of these. It'll be done in a week.
That's great because they're not putting any emissions out and they're cleaning the air. They're actually carbon negative.
That's awesome.
So all the fleet vehicles in LA are being changed over to Teslas. Cool.
That would be nice. I don't know. Quoting from this from Tesla, the air filtration system was put to the test in real-world environments, from California freeways during rush hour to smelly marshes, landfills, and cow pastures in the Central Valley of California to major cities in China. We wanted to ensure that it captured fine particulate matter and gaseous pollutants, as well as bacteria, viruses, pollen, and mold spores. When we decided to take things a step further and test the complete system as we would on the road, but in an environment where we could precisely control and carefully monitor atmospheric conditions. A Model X was placed in a large bubble containment with extreme levels of pollution, 1,000
Parts per million.
parts per million. Yeah. ppm to 2.5 versus the EPA's good air quality index limit of 12.
Parts per million.
1,000 versus 12. So, yeah, order of magnitude. Yeah, easily. When we closed the Falcon doors and activated bioweapon defense mode. I don't care. I want a car that has a bioweapon defense mode.
I might never use it. I just want the damn thing.
Yeah. Just to say you have it. I mean, that's a point of pride.
Standard.
Why are you getting a Tesla? I've got asthma.
You activating bioweapon defense mode? You mean your air filtration system? No, Dick. I mean bioweapon defense mode. It's on the button.
Yeah, it's on the button, dude.
Don't question me.
Is that going to be the red button or the green button?
It's going to be the yes button because I'll have it on all the time.
Exactly, yeah. Although it's billed as a bioweapon defense system, bioweapon attacks are astoundingly rare unless the occupant plans to drive their Tesla through parts of ISIS-held Iraq and Syria. They're not likely to ever encounter such attacks, and even then, a myriad of other hazards would probably make the quality of the filter mostly irrelevant.
Until
I need it.
is
I
fine
need
with those hazards too.
I need to buy a specialized Model X that's up armored.
There you go, yeah. Yeah, you're not
With a
going
remote gun on top.
really decrease your range. Just to let you know, it's going to really decrease your range.
That's fine. It's for base defense.
Yeah, so bioweapon defense mode in Tesla Model X. That's just, yeah. I don't think marketing gets much cooler than that, really.
The fact that the damn
Wait, I
thing
have to write an article on the bioweapon defense mode of the car? Please. Sign me up.
the fact that the thing can seat 7.
Really?
They have 3 different interior layouts: a 7-seat, a 6-seat, and a 5-seat. Depends on how much cargo space you want.
That's
Because the 7 and the 6 basically remove the cargo space.
Is that in the Model X?
Yep, I'm staring at the actual
okay,
page
okay.
right now.
So the Model X is the one with the Falcon doors. That's the new one, not the
Yes.
Model. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's the
So-
that's the newer one that just came out. Okay.
For those of you with those 2.5 kids,
Yeah.
you can have the 7-seater with bioweapon defense mode.
Well,
Because
now
you'll
that's
need it.
much more entertaining to me. Though I
It
will
still
note,
runs so much more fantastic.
yeah. I will note that Chrysler is finally coming out with a minivan model, the Pacifica, that is hybrid. So it's going to get like 8 miles to the gallon. So yeah, and so that's the first in class hybrid vehicle that they're going to be doing, and it's a hybrid, so it will also have the gasoline engine. That's something I'm more inclined to have, but it's not going to have bioweapon defense mode. So
Yet he'll eventually start selling that to other car companies.
yeah, well yeah, ought to. Hell yeah, and he has licensed out all of his patents for free. So all the patents on the car are basically open. Go ahead, please proliferate this technology. We need more of it out there. So
Well, I can say the military will probably proliferate bioweapon defense mode.
yeah, I could definitely see politicians really jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, no anthrax for me. Sounds good. Anyway, hey, Mike, your turn.
All right, pass it along to me.
I'm passing the torch.
Okay. So, we all know how much I love space.
No clue.
Because I fucking love space. Don't you lie to me. You know exactly how much I love space.
You're Space Corps in human form. Yes, we know.
So, I have plugged these guys before, and I'm going to plug them again because there is a new celestial event about to happen. And, of course, my friends over at SLU, another group that I would absolutely love to sponsor us if they're listening, Finger Guns. They are covering what is being called the transit of Mercury. Mercury, as we all know, is the closest planet to the Sun. It's a little one. It goes really, really fast. And it orbits the Sun around, what is it, like 88 days? Something like that. So it goes around real fast, and its orbit is at an angle to ours. So oftentimes we don't notice this. But coming up, we are going to actually be able to see Mercury, the little black dot, crossing the Sun. Now, obviously, you really should not go outside and just stare at the Sun to watch this, even though, yes, you can see it with the naked eye, or more accurately with a telescope. But don't do that.
You're looking at the Sun.
Yeah, don't do that. That's bad.
There are no things you can do.
Yeah, instead, what you should do is go to organizations like SLU or any number of observatories, I'm sure, that are going to be covering the event, and they will run it through filters, and so you can watch it live as it is happening, and see another planet crossing from the Sun, which is it's something that we don't see very often. I think the last time was like a decade ago that everything lined up for us to watch it. And we won't see it, and we won't see it again for several years. So
2019 is the next.
So catch it while it's here.
Yeah, the transit of Mercury we can see is every 3 years.
Yeah, so catch it while it's here. It's cool to watch.
Excellent.
Because
13 years, yeah.
More space. We need more space. Awesome. Next up. Onward, it's something a little more closer to home. I'm pretty sure we mentioned this in a previous show. I know we've been talking around the house.
Bodie McBoatface.
Bodie McBoatface is dead. Long live Bodie McBoatface. The organization, the Natural Environment Research Council, has finally announced what they're going to name the boat. They are not calling it the Bodie McBoatface. It is named instead the RRS Sir David Attenborough, and so that is kind of disappointing. It is a good name. It was on the petition. That was one of the ones on the petition.
However,
they did not name it Bodie McBoatface, which made many people sad. Among the many reasons, this is directly from the article, among the many reasons the name was not picked, perhaps the most important is that the ship will be operating in dangerous waters. If the worst is to happen, such as its sinking, the name would perhaps be not so amusing to friends and relatives that have lost loved ones. Good point. Good point. So yes, the Sir David Attenborough. However, the guys at the NERC are not without a sense of humor.
Yep.
They are not complete bastards. So instead, and Andy has so graciously pulled up the image, they have taken the name, the Bodie McBoatface, and they have given it to the robotic assistant drone that is attached to this particular vessel. and they have called that the Bodie McBoatface.
I'm entirely okay with the remote operated drone Bodie McBoatface.
Yes,
Yep.
there have been some. I have seen some people being humorous about it. Some people just being jerks about
No.
That's what you do.
democracy has failed and all that.
No,
But
I have heard that there's now a petition to rename David Attenborough Buddy McBoatface.
yes, there is. So no. And
Oh, wow.
while there are some real sour grapes in this whole affair, I really think that everyone has had a good time with this. I really think it turned out as good as we could possibly expect. I think it's great. Everyone I've talked to thinks it's also hilarious. So good on them for humoring us with
I desperately
the Buddy
wanted there
McBoatface.
I desperately wanted there to be like a dinghy or something on board that was the Bodie McBoatface.
The Buddy McBoatface.
Yeah, so that they've made an undersea vessel.
I'm sorry, I want a nuclear submarine that's the Bodie McBoatface.
The Buddy McBoatface.
Well, the United States could still do it.
USA!
I severely doubt that they would, because
You there? Oh.
But anyway, so that is the ultimate fate.
Oh, you're
Ooh.
cutting out, Mike. Mike.
Oh.
Losing you.
Mike. You're
This is the NSA. He was about to reveal something about our military.
Yeah, you were about to say something about the Navy, and then you cut out. So
I was just gonna say that they have no sense of humor.
That's
No.
true. That'd be true.
That is absolutely true. And now to finally tonight, and I hate to end it on a low note, but I think it's important. Harold Kroto, a Nobel Prize winning chemist, he died on Saturday, so it was after the show. And the reason I specifically picked this one out is because we have talked about his most famous discovery many times before. This is the man who discovered buckyballs.
Buckminster Fullerene.
Yes, he discovered the Fullerene configuration of carbon, which is a perfectly spherical atom composed of hexagons and hexagons and octagons or something like that. But the point of the discovery is that it is extremely significant to nanotechnology, and there have been thousands of papers written about it since its discovery. And he has finally succumbed to Lou Gehrig's disease. So good night, sweet prince. We will take your balls and go home.
And I'm the bad person.
That note.
Wow. Okay. And what perfect timing. That's going to wrap it up for part 1 of our 2-part normal show here. This is part A, and we will go to part B here momentarily. And then there'll be a 10-minute intermission for those that are listening in the live stream, and then we'll be back after we do the necessary human things with more news, some good, some bad, some from the court system, and then we'll see you all back here in about 10 minutes or so. And it would be at this point that I go ahead and fade out and then bring everything up for intermission. I said intermission. I pressed intermission.
Do the thing.
What the? Oh no.
Oh God.
Inception!
There we go.
God.
10 minutes. All right. Smoke 'em if you got 'em. We'll see you back in 10.
Okay, Poutine, it's intermission. Coffee time, please. So we'll need to get a Tesla, just for you. Tesla.
Go ahead and mute your
Tesla.
microphones while you're away.
A Tesla X specifically.
No one's muting their microphones while they're away. No, they're not. So if you happen to still be out there watching, then you get to hear whatever happens. But yeah, we'll see you in a bit.
Oh yeah, dude, I was stuck. I didn't finish all the meatballs. Okay. Love you.
Oh, that's a good. Death before decaf. Look at that, with 4.5 minutes to spare. The life-giving nectar of the evening presenter, also known as coffee. Oh, necessary for life, liberty, and political discussion.
As I have a song from Hamilton playing in the background right now.
Nerds.
I blame JP entirely.
Yes, JP is entirely at fault, and she's trying to talk to me.
I sent it to Steve, but the National Park Registry has made 2 historic LGBT sites into National Historic Landmarks.
Yeah, the Stonewall and...
Place in Puerto Rico, I believe.
Okay, cool.
I sent Steve the article. He can get it to you. I figured you guys might want to talk about that because it's actually kind of momentous.
Okay. That is definitely an excellent point. Late breaking news, apparently.
Something we can bring up?
Late breaking news.
Yeah.
We can't afford the teletype.
Apparently sent to you, Steve, from JP. The National Park Service is making history.
All right then.
I heard. I didn't overhear a little bit what she was saying.
But they are going to declare 2 sites important to the LGBT equality movement as national heritage sites. One of them being the Stonewall Bar and Grill.
Yeah, it doesn't get much more iconic than that.
Another one is apparently a site in Puerto Rico, but I'm not familiar with that.
Let's see.
As I'm seeing CCR just, haunting us in the corner. Of course, if we're going to get into a political discussion, it should be Fortunate Son. Oh. Bioweapon defense mode.
I love that so much. Well, I had $80,000.
Start saving.
Get that job with the Ninth Circuit Court, and you'll be able to get in the air.
That would be lovely.
I'll get the job with the FBI, and I'll get in a couple.
Oh.
Would be good. Okay. All right.
There we go. The final countdown.
The final countdown. I mean, what?
I've got that. Should I actually pull it up sometime?
Maybe. Especially if we're doing anything European, that would be perfect. Just because that's a layered in
Europe,
joke.
final countdown.
The Final Countdown by Europe from Prime Music.
That sounded official. Like if we were actually going to cover the election that happened in London today, that would be a nice little lead-in.
Well, we could bring that up. Most certainly.
I think we should, considering it's kind of momentous.
Grab a link, put it in. Do it.
All right, let me look.
Yeah, thank you for talking to me about friggin' Pandora's Star, but holy crap, 36 hours?
It is worth it, and you'll read it again and again.
Well, my question is, should I buy the book and read it because I love doing that, or should I do the friggin' audiobook?
Audio.
John Lee is the narrator, and he's awfully good.
Real
Also,
books
the
are
only way
superior in every way.
The only way I got through friggin' Dark Tower was with audiobooks. And that's a long series.
Here we go. Open Sesame.
Stop. There we go.
Stop this very instant.
Well, that's how you deal with Alexa. Tell her to stop and do things. So, okay, let's see here. I think we're back, aren't we? So,
Just about.
let me do. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We're just trying to change the world here, people.
Oh, really?
The Facebooking and the tweeting and the Instagramming, all that would not exist without our understanding of science.
So maybe I do that as an insult.
You mean true for you is different from true for anybody else? Have
Yeah,
to be
absolutely,
true.
because I can't
Some things
prove-
either got to be true. No, I can't. No.
Welcome back, citizens of Netlandia. This is O'Reilly Radio episode 108B for Friday, May 6th, 2016, where we dismantle current events for your entertainment through mostly rational conversations that make you go, oh, really? I'm still your host, Andy Cowan, with my usual suspects, all still in appearance, Michael Robinson, Fred Sims, Stephen Griffith, and Daniel Atherton. Welcome
Yo.
back, gentlemen.
Welcome back. Yes,
I'm
indeed.
still here.
Good. Okay, so we're getting right into the show. This week in SCOTUS! It's kind of a small news week, apparently, because the U.S. Supreme Court said yesterday, or at least one of these days during this week, that it will hear a case between two cheerleader uniform suppliers that could affect the state of copyright nationwide. In 2010, Star Athletica published its first catalog of cheerleading uniforms and was promptly sued. Varsity Brands, the world's biggest manufacturer of cheerleading and dance team uniforms, bet you didn't know that, alleged that Star Athletica's uniforms violated Varsity's copyrighted designs. The closier's conflict could have wide effects in the fashion world and beyond. A trio of 3D printing companies have already filed an amicus brief asking the High Court to take the case, seeking clarity on how to separate creative, copyrightable designs from utilitarian objects that aren't subject to copyright. I'm amazed that they actually decided to hear the case.
Yeah.
But considering the far-reaching, ramifications of this, they kind of had to.
Well, the problem is when it comes to something like this is that's the thing. Reason they're actually looking at this is because you have to look at where it will end. Because you look at all the people and all the different companies who make jeans, those are all the same design, but technically speaking, Lee is the one that started it.
Was it Lee or Levi's?
Levi's.
Yeah,
Levi's.
Levi Strauss Company,
Yeah. They were the one who started the, as we all know, standard denim jeans. So if this succeeds, then technically speaking...
Well, it depends on which side of it you're saying succeeds.
Yeah. These people suing for copyright, saying this is our copyrighted thing for us.
And that would be Varsity Brands. Is the one trying to keep their copyright.
But I think this is just too exclusive, and I think the court will make the right decision on this, because that is such a narrow view of copyright.
Yeah, that or the here in the live stream, and after all, you all should be watching the video version of the show because it's interactive. You get to see our shining face. You even get to talk in the chat room, like Mama Van saying, "Oh man, I need to check my astrology report." I'm sure this will impact it with the whole transit of Mercury thing, all that going on. Things like this, they do affect the show. So you too can be a part of the show. Come on down to ORLYRADIO.com and you can participate. You can watch the stream as it's happening. You can participate in the chat room. And then if you missed us, which so sad, you can get us next time every Friday about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then on.
No, Eddie, you're saying it all wrong, man.
I'm being generous.
You're a part of the show, so come on down.
Come on down, you're the next contestant on O'Reilly Radio. But you can get us in syndication, essentially. We're always on demand on our YouTube channel and, of course, on our website. Everything's there. Just search for us and you'll find us. But in the live stream here, you can see that Design 078, registration number VA1417-427, and it's a couple... nice little uniforms that look exactly like every cheerleader uniform I've ever seen.
Right.
Yeah. So art versus function. There's another design, also very similar. There's only so many things that you can do with clothes. You can do a lot, obviously. Anybody's that
especially when it comes to cheerleading clothes, because you need to have a certain level of mobility.
Yeah.
Right. And they have to be visible from a far distance to get the symbolism and colors in the right way. Otherwise, they're useless. We might as well all be wearing jumpsuits.
So no, I think the court will come down on the right side of this. I don't see them.
The question is how. I'm thinking that they still have to defend an intellectual property.
Yeah, but there's a way to do it where you're defending the intellectual property itself, but the intellectual property cannot be protected from common usage. So if you can't copyright an orange.
Yeah.
You can't copyright plate. You can copyright a specific plate pattern. You can copyright a genetically engineered orange, but you cannot copyright orange.
Just the concept of oranges in general.
Yeah. As the district judge saw it, it's impossible to sever the Varsity's designs from the utilitarian function of the resulting cheerleader uniforms. A similarly shaped outfit without the team color, stripes, chevrons, and similar designs is not recognizable as a cheerleading uniform. The appeals panel disagreed, finding no utilitarian function in Varsity's stripes and chevrons. Quoting, a plain white cheerleading top and a plain white skirt still cover the body and permit the wearer to cheer, jump, kick, and flip, wrote the two-judge majority. The top and the skirt are still easily identified as cheerleading uniforms without any stripes, chevrons, zigzags, or color blocking. I have to agree with the judges in that. So really, it's just pattern. Pattern of design language on top of a basic uniform. But then there are things like cut and feel and fit, all of those things. So there is still there's still design language involved in the way that the clothes are constructed.
Yeah, materials used and different things like that. And that's just going to come with what's available to the marketplace and what the cheerleaders themselves are looking for. One of the things that's interesting to note in here is Star Athletica complained about Varsity's aggressive tactics within the market, noting it has sued or acquired several other competitors, resulting in inflated uniform prices, to the detriment of those families that have like career cheerleaders that they start young. It's a
monopolistic behavior.
I was going to say it's a weird concept to think of monopoly inside of cheerleading uniforms, but essentially that's what it seems like Varsity is fighting for here, is their ability to monopolize this.
Well, of course they are, because they don't want to compete. They want all the money.
Well, again, it's a niche market, and in a niche market, you want utter dominance.
And that's where we were talking earlier, and you guys had mentioned the far-reaching implications of what the Supreme Court is going to be arguing here, or deciding on here, is that it's not just cheerleader uniforms. It's other niche markets that essentially would be like, oh no, we're just going to copyright our very unique idea so that no one else could ever start a business and make money in the same way.
Yeah. Now this really got into my field of view, not because I was looking for Supreme Court things, which I was, but because I just bought another 3D printer and I'm trying to repair the other one that I have. So the 3D printing process and what that's going to weigh out is really what got my attention. 3D printed objects that, quoting again from the article, are purely ornamental and non-functional, like sculptures and jewelry, are clearly copyrightable. Designs that are purely functional, like a wrench, are not. But a significant percentage of 3D objects combine utilitarian and artistic elements in complex ways, and the 3D printing companies would like a clear test so they know what their liability is. And that's from amicus briefs from Form Labs, Matter and Form, and Shapeways, all of which you can go out and you can have them print something for you out of any number of materials, and they'll deliver it. Customize whatever you want, and they can do it for you. So this is their business, and a bad copyright settlement can destroy them.
Yeah.
So this is clearly in their best interest to get some real clear language on this. And being someone that has a 3D printer and is now going to have 2 3D printers, I am concerned as well. I would like to keep above board wherever is possible. So, well, we'll keep an eye on this one, because I would like to hear what it is. And this section of the show is one of the clear areas that we can do a follow-up on.
Yeah.
Otherwise, not so much, but the court, does regularly decide things that they've decided to take up. So we'll be able to hear what's going to happen here, and I definitely want to know. So, okay, on to good ideas, and then on to bad ideas. I've got one from another one out of Gizmodo. They were just very good at finding things that became interesting to me. Our pop culture reference has recently added vaping to our vernacular and also to our airspaces. So though it is preferable, I believe, to smoking, it is still annoying. And some of the smells are downright obnoxious. Not that cigarette smoking wasn't, but at least that was fairly predictable. with vaping, who knows? It could be banana, mint, cinnamon.
I would like to point out that some of the things that you can put in this, people can be allergic to.
Mhm.
Yes. Now, the interesting thing with where this is going to lead, I actually learned a little bit more. Again, the government is officially going to regulate e-cigs.
Yes. To the point that they are banning the sales to people under 18, just like cigarettes.
Yes, but it goes further, and where it goes further is where things, the tightening is getting a little too tight. Because the FDA is going to regulate any new flavors that come out. You're going to have to go through the full FDA licensing process, which can cost up to $1 million to just get a flavor through.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
This is actually going to significantly stifle and clamp down on the development of anything past this 90-day grace period before this stuff is enacted. So this is an entire industry that has had, it's been the Wild West. There's been next to no regulation whatsoever. And then it's going to be so clamped down, I wouldn't be surprised that you'd see all the different vape shops start closing up, as well as the different companies closing up, and it becoming a further niche market where there's less and less of them.
Huh, I wonder who could possibly be behind this. Maybe their competition, who's losing money left and right?
Oh, do you think that the big tobacco?
Of course. Who else?
I'm sure that they probably had a hand in it. And of course, they're doing the old trope of think of the children. Think of the children. We don't want people that are under 18 years of age to be smoking. Oh, Lord knows what is in that vape.
Yeah, but they'll definitely market cigarettes to children as directly as they possibly can.
Oh, we retired Joe Camel. I don't know what you're talking about. That friendly dromedary.
Well, again, tobacco's clamping down on more of the global markets since we have regulated them we have vice taxed them and regulated them to hell and back, which I would love to get into vice taxing and all the ramifications of that some other show.
Now, yes, we have certainly regulated them and taxed them, but you know what? They're still
here,
reporting record profits.
Yeah, they're still incredibly profitable, so I don't want to hear it. It's the same thing I have with whenever I hear any multi-billion-dollar business complain about regulation. You're still making money hand over fist. Shut up.
Apparently, there was also a sweeping statewide legislation in California banning vaping in public areas and restricting e-cigarette sales to 21 and up, and raising the regular cig smoking age to 21 as well.
Come on, California. You're supposed to be the crazy state, the out there wild one.
Yeah, apparently not. Remember, everything is known by the state of California to cause cancer. It's on every label I get.
Everything.
Yeah, so this follows other laws in cities like San Francisco that also passed earlier this year. So I was unaware that California had upped the smoking age. I thought that was a national limit. I didn't know that was a state-to-state thing.
No, that is a state-to-state thing.
The national limit is 18. But I don't think it was ever like by actual federal law. I think it was just, every state it's at least 18, so it's de facto federal.
I don't think anything's actually de facto federal in this day and age.
Well, no, it's one of those that even if there is a federal law where it says it's 18, that's where you get the option you can make it more restrictive and say 21, and that's not violating any kind of
rule. Yeah.
Right.
You can make it more restrictive.
You just can't say, oh, it's 18 now, we're going to do 16.
You can make it more restrictive, not less.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Fred.
Just at the very end here, it says, so say goodbye to whatever the Joe Cool of vaping is. Oh, yeah, it's unicorn puke. Unicorn puke flavored e-cigs. The e-cigarette industry's recent boom, no surprise, of vaping also exploded popularly, blah, blah, blah. Interesting. Okay, so cigarette use has in fact fallen from 16% to 9% from 2011 to 2014. So it
And-
is getting people to stop smoking, at least that, except now they're sucking down unicorn puke, apparently, which is described as every flavor Skittle compressed into one.
That sounds delicious.
That actually does
Not
sound kind
gonna
of
lie,
awesome.
it kind of does.
I want it. I want it in my mouth.
I kind of want that now.
It's like, oh, well, okay, if you're going to describe it like that, you know, you don't even have to call it unicorn puke. You could just call it every flavor Skittle.
Yeah.
But
They probably get sick.
again, the FDA restriction is you cannot develop any more of these new flavors without going through their process. So all the innovative flavors and stuff, and like this unicorn puke, once the regulations come in, that goes out the window.
So would that mean that the current flavors are still in existence, or currently in existence, actually are fine to continue developing forward, just not any new ones?
Well, no. The ones that are already established are locked.
They're grandfathered in because
So
that's
they-
how the law works.
Their
cannot-
formulations cannot change.
They cannot change. They are locked. And any new ones have to go through FDA regulation.
There are an awful lot of flavors.
There are.
So I don't know that this will actually hurt the industry. It will hurt innovation and change in the industry.
But as far as the industry as it is, I mean, they've got 90 days to pump out as much new stuff onto the market as they can.
You know what? I was just thinking, this is unenforceable. Because people mix their own flavors.
It's true.
Yeah.
There's a whole secondary
because
market for that.
This flavor of spearmint is just fine. It's been regulated, whatever. And this flavor of cocoa or whatever, that way I can mix the two together and I have a chocolate mint. I'm vaping Thin Mints.
Yep.
Yeah, because how would that work if
Again,
you have
it
two
doesn't
you've
sound
already
bad.
passed to make your own?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, all you have to do is just buy the refills. They would have to clamp down on the method of delivery. So all those, the big vape coils and all that, it would all have to go away. It'd all have to get standardized. And I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Vaping or pipe smoking?
That's
Which one do you want to go for?
effectively unenforceable, yeah.
Yeah, so this is probably, like many things, much ado about nothing.
Yeah.
Full of pomp, light on circumstance.
And a quick update to ages and states and whatnot. There
Mhm.
are several states that are a little more restrictive than 18. Alabama and Alaska are both 19. California and Hawaii are 21. New York.
Yeah, California or Hawaii is 21 in name only.
Oh yeah.
I lived there. That shit.
Ohio is 21 only in the city of Cleveland. New York has certain counties that are 21 or 19 depending on the area.
Geez, county by county?
Yeah, like
Ooh.
Utah is 19 completely. So I mean, there are some states that are a little more restrictive than the considered age of 18.
County by county, that's so lame though.
Thank you for the info, Fred.
With New York, what they have is New York City has a ban on all tobacco and e-cigarette sales to anyone under the age of 21. But smoking supplies under federal state law, it's 18 for New York City. Suffolk County bans all herbal cigarettes, rolling papers, and pipe sales to anyone under the age of 21. They don't specifically discuss tobacco, though, so I don't know. It only lists 21 for those particular things. Nassau County's 19 bans all tobacco and product sales to anyone under the age of 19. So for those ones, it's specific to the county area. Other ones are usually statewide. I guess it just depends. I mean, you do have the option as a county or a city to get more restrictive than what the state or federal options are. So.
Boy, those kids that live down by the county line, they're always sneaking off into the woods.
Yep.
Man, that is how it works with alcohol in the city of Columbia. Because I lived I lived in Columbia because there's a river that runs through the city of Columbia in South Carolina. On the north half of that city, it's a dry county. You cross the river and you can buy alcohol anytime.
See, this is why I'm kind of against states' rights.
Because it produces this ridiculous clusterfuck of crap.
Yeah.
But states' rights are important.
Are they?
No, states'
they
They
really?
are.
Are
this
they?
extreme are not important.
Not to this extreme, but still at the same time, they're states' rights that is a necessity.
I don't see. I think that was true back in the day, but nowadays, all I see is states' rights causing problems.
That's because we're in an era where it causes problems. But
That's
there's
literally all we see, though.
But
Wait,
Is that and it's not, but it's not just this era. It has been slowly becoming more and more true as time has gone
Well,
on.
hang on, Daniel. What are you talking about with we're in an era where it's causing problems? What the heck do you mean by that? Unpack that.
Okay. I will try and back this up.
Because it sounds a bit of hooey. I mean, really.
All right. But a lot of our current kerfluffles are states' rights issues. I mean, what we're going to be getting into the bad soon is a state versus federal.
Yeah.
Now, Michael does have a point that in our history, states' rights versus the federal government has been a common thing, but I'm a firm believer in states' rights because sometimes at the federal level, we can get it wrong. We have a possibility of having a President Trump.
Yes.
States' rights can help protect the individual states from a Trump-tastically bad time.
But there's a way to save that ability without giving the states the ability to hang themselves with ridiculous someone's got to check your genital laws when you want to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
There should be checks and balances, but that's why I'm for states' rights as a check.
Well, hang on. Okay, it's certainly nice to have those checks and balances. I agree. However, I would like some evidence of something where you have had a state right or a state law that has technically been better than the federal.
Okay, Brown versus the Board of Education.
Okay.
We're getting into Kansas law here.
Okay.
All right. Because Kansas used to be such a progressive state. But you had Kansas, if I remember correctly. I could be completely wrong here, so fact checking is always good. That goes for everybody, including you in the chat.
That's right. This is why you should always have our email handy, ORLYRADIOpodcast@gmail.com, or send us a voicemail, 470-222-6759, and tell us why Daniel's wrong, or right.
Go for it. No, but again, Kansas was sort of a split state. Now, before the Civil War, I believe they were anti-slavery. But
well, they were past that Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah, but we also had Missouri, which was sort of a wonky area, but that's getting further into history.
But see, Kansas is above the Mason-Dixon line, so it doesn't matter if they were for or against it. They simply had to follow the law.
Yeah, but no, you had a conflict in Brown versus the Board of Education, which I believe was in Kansas.
It was in Topeka, yes.
Yeah.
And real quick,
okay.
To that, Kansas was actually one of those states that they were given the decision for popular sovereignty to decide whether or not they would be a slave state, and they actually had a lot of battles in Kansas. That's where the term bleeding Kansas comes from.
Yeah, they literally fought over their right to have slaves.
Inside of Kansas, fought over the right to have slaves.
Yeah.
They lost that fight.
But it was a close thing.
Yes, but so I mean they were a free state but they really wanted to be a slave state too.
They were a free state only just.
Okay, so I've got Brown versus Board of Education from the Wikipedia article. I've got that up in the show notes here.
Okay.
So we can all take a look. So landmark United States Supreme Court case. Hey, good thing we're talking SCOTUS and everything. In which the court declared state laws establishing separate public schools for black and white students to be unconstitutional. So that would be the Supreme Court saying that
Yeah.
the state law was bad.
Yeah.
But again, this was actually the marking of Kansas becoming more liberal. I will try and find a good states' rights argument for next time.
Okay, because this one.
This is not the right one. I just remember in studying it, there was actually a number of judges in its fight within Kansas, as well as some politicians that were pushing for that case to be brought before the Supreme Court. So
No,
there
I
were.
mean, okay. Let me back this up here because I kind of started this whole mess, and just take it back to the beginning. I'm not saying that good ideas haven't come out of states' rights versus federal rights. I'm not saying that because I'm sure we can find examples where that is true. However, what I remember from history class is that as time went on, as we came closer, as we went from the foundation of our country to now, the whole states' right argument has just caused more trouble than it's worth because the states are consistently behind the times, especially in the traditionally red ones, the traditionally conservative states. They're always behind the times. But even going back to the foundation of our country, this argument, states' rights versus federal law, almost broke our nation because the first idea was a confederation, which is a government system that is sound but very difficult to execute. Because of this problem, because if you have all of these little mini nations, and there's 50 of them now in the United States, all following their own rules, and then all of those mini nations are composed of even smaller nations, the counties, and all of them are following their own rules. There's this huge complex Byzantine bureaucracy of what is allowable where. And it's so difficult to follow and wastes so much time and energy and money that it just drags the nation down.
What I would like to point out is a very common problem that many people have, and that's the ignorance of law is no excuse. Except for those that travel around an awful lot, how am I supposed to know every law in every single municipality?
Here, perfect example of this. Perfect example of this problem, Andy.
I mean, what if I wanted to park my elephant?
Yeah.
In the middle of the afternoon on the street.
Perfect example of this problem, Andy. I just bought a cane. I have a bum leg. It's not so bad that I medically need a cane at all times. But if I'm going to the parks,
is it at least a pimp cane?
If I'm going to, it's a really badass cane with a raven on the end with a blue orb in it. It's really awesome looking. But if I'm going to the parks for any length, if I'm going to be there all day at Disney walking around, I'm going to want a cane. And you're permitted to have a cane in the parks because people need assistance.
Right.
And if I screwed up my leg one day and I'm limping all day, I don't want to be walking around limping, but I want to go to the park, need a cane. So I bought one. Turns out it's a sword cane. It's not an actual weapon. It's a replica, so it is a prop, but there's still a blade on the inside. Now, that's perfectly legal in some places, but I sure as hell don't know what the laws are in the state of Florida. In some places, it's illegal just to own the damn thing, so I could have committed a felony without thinking.
Oh, yeah,
because
no.
Every state is different, and it's ridiculous.
It's Florida. We love weapons. You're good.
It is Florida. We love weapons. Therefore, I'm fine because, despite the fact that it is longer than the length for a concealed weapon, a sword cane is not considered a concealed weapon in the state of Florida. So I'm fine.
It isn't?
No, it's not because the cane itself is in plain view.
Going shopping right now.
Yeah.
Also, you can wear.
The cane itself is in plain view. It's not considered a weapon.
4 inches, you can wear in public. You can open carry.
Yeah, as long as you were displaying it openly.
Yeah, on your hip in a holster, or in a sheath, it's perfectly fine for a knife.
Yeah.
But to the point that you're making, unwittingly,
I could have committed a felony.
Could have committed a felony, and had you run into the wrong bad day officer, you've now ruined your life off of something that is a medical need for you. Then
it was an accident.
Yeah.
I just bought a cane because it looked cool, and I could have been in jail for 20 years. And that's because states' rights is stupid.
Now, real quick, just to help Daniel's argument out a tad, I will give you two states' rights argument that are better.
Okay.
First of which,
this is why having a big panel of people that can, explore as we're yakking about it is fantastic. Go ahead.
The first of which comes out of Oregon. And we've discussed it before, so it fits. Physician-assisted suicide.
Good callback.
The second is a huge deal, and the Supreme Court has a ruling on this as well, but the medicinal use of marijuana. Even states that allow it, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the federal government, permitting DEA agents to still arrest medical marijuana patients and caregivers. So even if the state says that it's legal for medicinal marijuana in this state, which would be an example of the state, being a better law than the federal one, the Supreme Court currently has the federal government, being able to arrest people still in that situation.
Yes, but where do we
That's the
draw
federal
the line?
government being behind the times.
Yes, but where do we draw the line with that? Where do we say, okay, the benefits are far outweighed by the absolute garbage that we have to deal with? I mean, how many red states are completely screwing over people who need health care because of this Obamacare nonsense? Because they're claiming states' rights, and people are dying over it.
Well, and
that's the problem that I have with the whole states' rights argument, is that I do see the merits, and there have been good cases, as you have just so eloquently pointed out for us. But overall, it is just more and more overwhelmingly negative. It's holding us back as a country.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100% on that. Like I wasn't arguing against for states' rights at all.
You presented.
I was just pointing out that there are some examples. Daniel was right in that there are some examples.
And it is important to point that out, but it still doesn't help the big picture.
Thank you, Fred, for fulfilling the prophecy of having people yell at their radios. Because they were like, "What about this?" People are going to scream, and now they're going to say, "Thank you." So I can hear it all now. That's exactly what was going on behind the scenes. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, that's completely the case. But we do have mechanisms to change the federal law as well.
Yeah.
So
and I mean that's what needs to happen in these situations.
Yeah, eventually it will get there. Eventually. And what we have is a groundswell. We also have the case where, yes, the DEA can come in and can shut these places down. The state's going to let them open right back up.
Yeah.
So it'd be a huge game of whack-a-mole. And then we have to talk about...
And it's just a waste of resources.
Yeah. It becomes, okay, at what level are you going to enforce that? And that's when we get into the bad ideas section. So let's move right along before we get there. Daniel, you had two articles on good ideas. Let's talk about good things before we move on to that.
Well, the first article is actually coming to us from Austria, where we have a gentleman who had a problem with obsolescence.
Okay. We've talked about obsolescence, and you were talking about the German light bulbs.
Yes.
Previous episode.
Yes. Sepp Eisenregler. I will probably not say that correct again.
It's a very rough name to say.
Run with it. It's good.
But he again had money and this burning need to try and save the world in a little way, and opened this sort of academy where he trained individuals who were long-term unemployed or medically handicapped to be repairmen.
Mechatronic engineers.
Yes.
Huh.
To go in and take those things that are designed to fail and fix them. And from this has actually grown into a thing with his little academy, the RUSZ. They're now doing outreach days where you can come in with your devices and you can use their workshop under the guidance of some of their engineers that have been trained. So you have a problem with your washer, you can fix it. You have a problem with your radio, you can fix it. You have a problem with some of your older appliances, you can fix them. Because, in his opinion, program obsolescence is killing our planet. And in some ways, he is not wrong.
He is not wrong.
Yeah.
And so this is a gentleman of means who saw a problem and found a multi-tiered solution.
One of the many cool things out of this story, RUSZ has been around for 16 years. It's placed 300 long-term unemployed workers in permanent work contracts, and they also say that it's avoided about 15,000 tons of problematic waste, as well as a huge amount of greenhouse gases.
15,000 tons.
Again, when
that is a significant number.
When you have a problem with your dishwasher, a lot of times the handyman will come out and say, you need to buy a new one. As opposed to...
Yeah. It would be less expensive for you just to go ahead and get a new one.
As opposed to...
That's the problem.
Take the problem to one of these mechatronic engineers and go, you just need to clean out the hose and get a better hose. The hose is the thing that's been designed to fail.
Yeah.
Here, let me give you this replacement hose. Oh, look, that cost €20. You're good now for another 2 years.
I think I would like to have mechatronic engineer on my business card. I think that'd be pretty sweet.
You don't have enough on your business card already?
I don't even have a business card. I need to get business cards. So
you don't have a business card? Who are you?
I don't have a business card.
No, but of all the people in this show that I would expect to have one, it's you, Andy.
True. I really don't. I have one for the show.
They don't give you
but
one
it doesn't
for work?
No, they didn't.
Really?
No. Well, I used to have them, but every bit of information on it is wrong except my name, including the company I worked for.
I was gonna say they'll just change it.
So
It'll say
all that's wrong.
Andy Cowan, Savior, and then
Right. Okay. Sure. This is a great article. Definitely something to be curious about and look into. And I wonder if this would have any chance at all here in the United States.
I think it would, but it'd have to be in the right community. This is something I can see that's coming out of a more, not even a liberal state, a liberal city. Say like Seattle, Portland, where your sort of crazy harebrained schemes can actually take root. Though I would love to see something like this start up in Detroit. You have a giant long-term unemployed labor force up there that needs and wants the training, and it can be applied to so many things up there. I mean, Detroit used to be a shining jewel of our industrial age. It could be that way again with just the right people investing time and effort and revitalize that city.
I was going to say the long-term unemployed in Detroit have already shown a propensity for working with their hands and doing that mechanical type stuff. Training them to do this would really not be that difficult. I mean, it probably wouldn't take near as long to get them up and ready to where, and that completely revitalize the area.
I see. Okay. Let's see. Cheap washing machines often have a screw loose as well, designed to break. Eisler recalls it. The shock absorbers are the predetermined breaking points. They are built so weakly that the ball bearings and the drum bearings break. A new washing unit consisting of bearing, tub, and drum, however, costs the same as a brand new disposable washer. Buying cheap does not pay off, the social entrepreneur advises, because for each 100 euros you spend more, your washer will last a year longer. It's interesting. And it's true. I've had this I've had this long discussion with my father because he's um, dollar rich and penny poor or something like that. I'm not sure what it is, but basically he will pinch pennies insanely to try and save a dollar, but he eventually will have to do it again and again and again and again because he was chincing on it, making that penny scream by stretching it just so far. And where I'm looking at it like, well, if you buy not even the top grade but the mid grade component, you won't have to do it near as much. You'll save money in the long run.
It's the concept of short-term versus long-term investment.
Yes.
The more you pay into something, in most cases, the longer it will last.
Yeah.
It's programmed obsolescence is something that you will only encounter late in its life the more you pay.
Yeah. This is it's right in the same vein as my rant on 107A about poverty, and trying to get out of that the paycheck to paycheck and think a little bit ahead, just a little bit ahead, and you start saving. But it's a long-term gain that you have to be in it for a long-term investment.
You also have to be able to afford that initial investment.
Well, that's why it's long-term. You have to, you do have to pinch the pennies to make that investment in the first place. But then once you get that ball rolling, it helps, and it helps more, and it helps more still. So, even if it's just a matter of getting a small loan, I'm not talking, the Trump $1 million loan kind of thing from his father or anything like that, but just a little leg up, along with the Kickstarters and GoFundMes and Modest Means and things like that. All those Indiegogos and all those crowdsourcing, community sourcing projects, they can help get people over that hump to where they can get to the point where they can start saving money. Sometimes you just need that little bump. Then you can start paying back. So, but yeah, none of it's easy. None of it's easy. But this kind of project really, it does pay off. Obviously, with 12,000 tons.
Yeah.
15,000 tons.
15,000 tons of less waste in our landfills.
Because this is e-waste and stuff.
And just in this area where he's doing it. I mean, that's not even, again, you bring this to a global market, the amount of waste you're saving, the number would be staggering.
It would be great to see places like this in a country like India, where you have a mass population that is consuming more and more e-goods as time goes on, and being able to make those e-goods last longer.
Yeah, remember your first cell phone?
Oh, yeah.
And having to make it last like 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
And it being okay for those 3 years. And now it's like another year, it's like, well, now I kind of want that next thing. We get to that point, and the new thing can't be repaired. You look at it, it's a slab of glass that you have to have special components to repair and things like that. It's getting, not only is it planned obsolescence, but the design language has gotten to the point where it's just harder to maintain these things. Everything's getting smaller. Shade tree mechanics. People just fix their own cars. That's gotten a lot harder because everything's in an electronic control unit. And no, we're not wrapping up. Silence. We're not there yet. This show can go longer. So, but we can move on. We can move on from here. So, on to your next story, sir. We've definitely got plenty out of that.
Also coming to us from Europe. Wow, I feel like I'm the European correspondent here.
You are. Sadiq.
You said it. That has become your job now.
Okay.
You have a niche. Congratulations.
Sadiq Khan becomes London's first elected Muslim mayor. This actually is an incredibly interesting story, at least to me. The English government is very parliamentarian in how they elect things, with the noted exception of London's mayor. This is the only time where we actually see American politics in England.
American style politics, yeah.
American style politics, because was a contentious, rancorous campaign.
The Labor Party too. Okay, so
Yeah, and this is going to be
Labor Party.
and this is going to be Labor's only major victory. What we're seeing right now with their current elections is the Tories are winning again. So this is like Labor's only little shining moment here.
yeah, for those of you that are not world-wise, the Labor Party is essentially the liberal wing of their candidate of their party systems, and the Tories are more of the conservative, the GOP style.
Well, there's Tory and then there's conservative, which theirs is, since it's a multi-party system, you have things where it's splitting hairs, but those hairs can be rackled and hackled by their politics. Again, you had the conservative Boris Johnson, who he was good for some things, he was terrible for others, which Khan replaces. He was running against Goldsmith, who ran a rather nasty campaign, pretty much saying that if Khan were elected, he would be granting cover to Islamic extremists.
Giving platforms, oxygen, and even cover to Islamic extremists.
It was just a very nasty campaign. Also considering currently part of the reason why the Labour Party has been losing has been allegations of anti-Semitism, which we actually do see a few of those within Labour's youth movement. There has been a number of proven allegations there of anti-Semitism, which is what's bit them in the butt. But Mr. Khan is the first Islamic Muslim in Europe to hold a significant political position. He's the first, so we're actually seeing history here.
Good job, buddy.
And he has, and it was interesting. And Goldsmith was going incredibly negative in his campaigning. Khan was trying to be open and inclusive. He said he was going to be a mayor for all Londoners, and that was one of the things that really came across in his campaign.
Yeah, he's got a Twitter account at Sadiq Khan, and he says, "Back at the Henry Prince estate where I grew up, I'll be the council estate boy who fixes the Tory housing crisis."
Oh, London's in a major pinch right now. Housing prices have skyrocketed to the point where it's London's almost unlivable. People are having to flee the city because the prices have gotten too high. I remember visiting London myself when I was a freshman in high school, and to let an apartment wasn't that bad. It was the equivalent of having a decent walk-up apartment in New York for a little over $1,000 a month. And when you're considering that their apartments, aside from the bathrooms, are much nicer than ours.
Well, you don't like the WCs?
When their idea of a shower, a man of my height, which is all of 5'10" if I stand up straight, and I can't raise my arms above my head without hitting the ceiling, and if I try to wash my back, I will knock the shower door open.
So
yeah.
Definitely a water closet.
Yes.
Quite literally.
It's like being on a boat.
It is very confined.
They're small.
But
definitely unfortunate.
The rest of the place, very, very nice. I'm one that the happiest dorm experiences in my entire life was up in Edinburgh, but that's Scotland, not England. But no, they're
in a different place. Very, very different.
Very different place. No, London's experiencing a dynamic financial crisis. Also, their NHS is having issues. The national healthcare system,
Yeah.
which has been constantly being brought up in their parliament, and the continuing debate whether or not they should maintain their membership in the EU. So our allies and our neighbors are going through their own political plight while we here are toiling away at the Trump apocalypse.
Yes, such as it is. So, okay, let's move along from this and into some of the bad. So, we were speaking, of course, of the states' rights thing, and well, now we have very clearly with that whole HB2 in North Carolina, the infamous bathroom bill. The Department of Justice had said that it's violating the Civil Rights Act and Title IX.
And it is.
Well, it violates Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, and then it violates Title IX for the colleges.
Yeah.
So, and officials have ordered lawmakers to comply with those laws by next week or risk billions of dollars in federal education funding.
By Monday. They have to comply by Monday.
Yeah.
By Monday. So what happened?
Nothing.
Oh, no. Worse than nothing.
Nothing. See, nothing would be par for the course. No. This is active defiance.
Yeah. Which is not going to hurt the people in power. It's going to hurt everybody below them.
Everybody else.
Yeah. So, specifically, let's see. Quoting, "We will take no action by Monday," Moore said. "That deadline will come and go. We don't ever want to lose any money, but we're not going to get bullied by the Obama administration to take action prior to Monday's date. That's not how this works."
They really love the Constitution until they have to obey it.
Well, again,
do you know how this works? Do we know?
They passed this bill in 12 hours. You can't, redefine it or repeal it in that time? I don't understand.
Exactly.
Oh, no, they can. They just
don't care.
Yeah. Their state is hemorrhaging money. We have an entire movement on Twitter. North Carolina, this is not us. We're seeing corporation after corporation, the things that usually get Republicans to, perk up like they hear a dog whistle, going, hey, don't do this.
You do this, we out.
We now have the NCAA going, hi, we're not going to hold a single tournament here anymore. We've had Michael Jordan, the king of the Republicans, by Nikes too, going, hi, I'm not going to stand for this. And the team that I own in this state isn't going to stand for this. And they're still digging in their heels. It's mind-boggling. And here, they're violating the law. They're violating the federal law.
Get this. Okay. The Christian Action League of North Carolina, one of the primary backers of the controversial law, offered a scenery-chewing statement urging GOP lawmakers to disobey the Obama administration.
This is why I'm hanging my head.
At the hands of his henchmen in the U.S. Department of Justice, King Obama has delivered his message of intimidation to the state of North Carolina, said Mark Creech, the group's executive director on Facebook. Quoting again, "The great pontiff of political correctness holds the educational futures of our state's children hostage while dangling the money bags of federal funds over their heads, demanding in exchange North Carolina bow to the madness of obliterating male and female distinctiveness."
I'd like to take this opportunity to point out that as much as they say they hate big government, 95% of the poorest counties are red, are Republican. 8 out of 10 of the poorest states are Republican. Red states take nearly twice as much federal funding for everything than blue states do. They need the money of big government.
They do. It's the only stick that the big government has.
Yeah,
really.
because as much as they bitch and moan about big government, they sure as hell suckle at that teat.
Yeah. And of course, what they're using here is children as shields.
Of course they are.
Think of the children holding them up by their backs to their necks.
The children
either
don't
way.
care.
Children are being used here because
Yeah.
it's think of the children on either side.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, but see, you know, what else does the federal government have though? The biggest that's just what they've got. This is the education budget is what they can withdraw.
Well, also, this is in violation of the law, and the penalties are spelled out here.
Yeah, it's you know.
This is what happens when you violate this law. The funding goes away.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
That's the penalty.
Really, they just have to do it. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, done. We warned you.
The federal government's hands are tied in this. Again, the argument that the federal government's doing something wrong, no.
No.
They're just upholding, they're doing their jobs. They're upholding the law.
Representative Cecil Brockman, Democrat out of High Point, he had the quote, HB2 became law in less than 12 hours. 5 days should be more than enough time to decide how to clean up after it.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, setting it on fire and walking away.
Yeah. Should we hear what Moore actually had to say from the jackass's mouth?
I don't want to give him airtime.
No airtime? Okay. I'm good with that. We'll move along. So into a little more here. Let's see what's this one. Ah, yes.
Yeah, this is
It's
who shall not get airtime.
It's more about the same. This is really the end story here. So yeah, it's Republican Speaker of the House out of North Carolina, Tim Moore. That's who we were speaking of. You know, to give him full credit and title, so that you can go track him down and give him a piece of your mind. Yeah. So we got a couple links here so that you can go out and take a look. Colin Campbell, Raleigh Reporter, House Speaker Tim Moore on Mondays. DOJ deadline on HB2 is unreasonable and won't be met by NCGA. Okay, yeah. Right now we're talking with our attorneys to see what our options are. Moore added, we're going to move at the speed that we're going to move at to look at what our options are. That said nothing.
They are great at that. They are great at saying absolutely nothing with a lot of words.
Very good at that, yeah.
Your options are you repeal the law or you lose the money.
I mean, in a way, that really says a lot. We're going to move at the speed we're going to move at to look at what our options are. When you're telling us to do something we don't want to do, we're going to drag our feet, but if in 12 hours we need a law that completely violates the civil rights of an entire group of people,
yeah.
Oh, we got that shit down.
They've proven that they can move awfully fast.
They can move exactly as fast as they want to move, which apparently is 12 hours.
Yeah,
Again,
also a very quickly called and secret meeting amongst them when they did that. I mean, it was literally like a very fast.
They knew they were doing bad because they held the meeting in secret, hushed up behind closed doors. They knew this was a bad.
Yeah.
Well, also let's keep in perspective what HB2 was passed in response to. This was in response to a city having the wherewithal and the gall to try and be inclusive and protect its citizenry.
Yeah.
Yeah. How dare they be progressive?
That's what this entire thing is about. How dare our cities try to be progressive? How dare they pass laws that we don't agree with?
How dare they move on without us? How dare they think that they can do so? Yeah, it's pretty bad. But that really wraps up the bad ideas section, and I think we ought to move right out into personal picks. And again, Gizmodo had been doing some really great things. So yeah, they just they dominated my newsfeed.
This is brilliant. I love this.
This little shiny device looks like a little wall-wart, power adapter, and essentially it is, but it's special. it attaches to your Wi-Fi network. And if it detects that Wi-Fi network goes down, it power cycles whatever's attached to it. Like the router that happens to control the internet that went down. How many times have you had to go into your closet or under your desk and reset your router because reasons?
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Have you turned it off and on again? Exactly. Well,
Now I have a power adapter that does that.
This little gadget, it'll cost you $60.
You don't have to power cycle. We did that shit for you.
But you never have to do it again. It does it for you.
Well worth $60 after the 5th time of climbing underneath that desk.
Exactly. Now it's called a reset plug. It does exactly what its name is. How awesome is that? But I'm coming from an enterprise networking standpoint here. Okay,
Oh.
I have remote printers that have a VPN endpoint on them attached to a DSL or cable modem in doctors' offices with nothing else attached to it. It's a headless unit with a printer and an IP address. That's all it is. Do you know how many hours of my life have been spent on the phone trying to tell a clerical office worker how to unplug a modem and plug it back in? Do you know how many days of my life have been devoted to this task?
There is a reason that the IT Crowd, which is a great show,
Have you turned it off
their
and back on?
tagline is, have you tried turning it off and on again?
Because it works.
It solves 95% of computer problems.
It really does, especially on dead simple VPN boxes. As soon as they reboot, Cisco, Juniper, Aruba, HP, all these boxes out there, they have in them called NAND flash, and as they boot up, they read their entire programming from a built-in memory and basically reprogram the device upon booting. And as soon as that's done, it's as if nothing ever happened. So that error that happened in programming in rogue memory somewhere gets overwritten with the right program every time it gets rebooted.
Every time.
This little device will save enterprises that use it in this way millions. Millions in man-hour. And in my case, they're delivering patient reports. So your patient report gets to your doctor in a timely fashion without having to go through a bureaucracy to get a ticket in, to then schedule time, and then to try and coordinate a phone call, when all it took was turning it off and back on again.
And this $60 plug will fix that.
Millions of dollars. Millions. The only problem is that it is wireless only. So what I want them to do is I want them to have a hardwire adapter in there too. If they could just give me an Ethernet plug and just let it ping out, and if it doesn't ping, it reboots. That's what I want.
Well,
so
talk to these people, let them know your brilliant idea, and it will probably be down the pipe in a year.
Exactly. So this little device, oh man, it's going to save so much time. I wish it was out so much longer ago. In fact, I was actually thinking of building a Raspberry Pi to do the exact same thing.
And now someone's gone and done it for you?
Yeah, pretty much. And at probably cheaper, because it would have cost me a bit of money to put all that together. So, and it's in a nice little shiny package. Very clever. So that's my pick. And Steven, you've got epic rap battles of history.
They are so good.
One of my favorite things on the internet.
Epic Rap Battles of History has been around for a while, but good news, they're now back with the start of Season 5. Yes, they've had 4 previous seasons.
They're so good.
And Season 5 is one of the best fights they've had so far, in my opinion. It is J.R.R. Tolkien versus
George R.R.
Martin.
Tolkien ruined him. Just absolutely wrecked.
It's 2 minutes and 48 seconds. Should we just give them some airplay?
Go for it.
Give them some airtime. They've earned it.
George R.R. Martin versus J.R.R. Tolkien! We got brace yourselves! Gather up your trolls and your soldier elves! And your ents and your orcs and your wargs and your stings, your dwarves and clamdrains! Cause there's a new leader, every lord in the ring! My readers fall in love with every character I've written, and I kill them! And they're like, what are you doing? Oh, you're bad guys, you're good guys, survive! We can tell what's gonna happen, a page in H5! We're all seeing how to find some sex in your movie! Yeah. Ditch the Goonies and cast a couple boobies! This ain't your plot, keep it known! Your hobbit hole heroes can't handle my throne! Kings, queens, dragons, dwarves, horses, fortresses, magic, and swords! You have made my whole shit, you uninspired hack! You want a war, George? Welcome to Shire Rock! Because you got nothing to say, I'm number 1 and 2, you're under 50 shades of gray! I got the pros of a pro! Your shit's subpar! You're a pirate! You even stole my RO! We all know the world is full of chance and anarchy. See, yes, it's true to life for characters that die randomly. But newsflash, the genre's called fantasy. It's meant to be unrealistic, you myopic vanity. I conscientiously object to what you're doing on these beasts. I'll cut you like my teeth on Beauty and the Beast. You went too deep, Professor Tweed Pan. We don't need the backstory on every fucking tree branch. I cut my teeth in the trenches of the Somme. You lobbed your Santa Claus ass through Vietnam. And it's hard for me to take criticism on clothes. From a dude who sends a raven to say hi to a show. Man, you fat jokes are worse than you pipe smoke. My show's the hottest thing on HBO. I'm rock and roll, you're a nerdy little image, and I may be dirty, but you got a hairy foot fetish, dog. Even the names of your characters suck. Got buffers and bullfers and brandy bucks. I got a second breakfast for all them goofy fucks. Lift up my gut and teabagging's my nuts.
Yes, Bush and I were just discussing how you and Jon Snow both know nothing. Because the backstory on my box office is brilliant. Got my children making millions off my silver brilliance, and I'm more rock and roll than you ever been. Don't believe me? Ask Led Zeppelin. Okay, racist, but shit, I'm too towering. Every time I battle, it's return of the king. Oh, whoa. Poster. You just saw.
That, my friends, is the season 5 opener for Epic Rap Battles of History. Yeah, if that's even a beginning of what they're doing this season, it's gonna be amazing.
Wow. That's
savage.
That is something else. That is something else. They had
for anyone out there who's ever heard it, yeah, go back. They've got 4 more other seasons of stuff.
It's all
go
I think the
watch
next
it
one
all.
that they have
Is it done? Is it up?
well 4 months ago apparently
Okay,
Deadpool
no. So
versus
that-
Boba
Yeah,
Fett.
that Deadpool vs. Boba Fett was the one before the season 4 ending. The Jim Henson versus Stan Lee is the season 4 finale.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't think so, because what about Deadpool versus Boba Fett? That's 4 months ago. Jim Henson versus Stan Lee was 9 months ago.
Well,
no.
Deadpool versus Boba Fett's newer. Wow.
Well,
yeah, these are kind of crazy, and obviously this has earned us a explicit tag.
Yeah. At the very end of the show.
It's usually so,
but it's worth it. It's worth it. Yeah, that was. Yeah. That's pretty hilarious. That's the first time I bothered to see it. Wow.
No, they got a number of good ones in there. The Philosopher's one is one of my favorites. So is Shaka Zulu versus Julius Caesar.
The Barack Obama Mitt Romney one is amazing. It was
Yeah.
Mozart
versus Skrillex.
Skrillex, yep.
They did 3 straight seasons opening with Vader versus Hitler, which is
Yep. Well, it was actually episode 2 of
Vader versus RoboCop. Yeah, there's Hitler versus Vader 3.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. They were the first one ever was the second episode, and then they opened season 2 and season 3 with their rematches.
Yep. Mario Brothers versus the Wright Brothers.
That one was pretty good. Actually, the single most vicious still, in my opinion, is still Cleopatra versus Marilyn Monroe.
That one is brutal.
That is just
My
that
personal
was brutality.
favorite is Einstein versus Hawking.
That's a good one.
That's an amazing
Love
one.
Einstein versus Hawking.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Oh, Lincoln versus Norris.
Yes.
Yes.
Lincoln,
Very good
Abraham Lincoln versus Chuck Norris was one of the very first ones they ever did.
Oh boy.
Yeah, go through, watch it, Andy. You'll love it.
Oh, I don't know that.
It's
I wanna,
addicting. You can just
I don't
go
know
through
that I want to fall down this rabbit hole.
It's not that deep of a rabbit hole. That's
It's
the beautiful
really
thing.
not.
It's not that deep
They're
of a rabbit
short.
hole.
Yeah,
They're
'cause-
fun.
It's a molehill. It's a molehill.
Okay, it's a
anywhere from like 2 to 4 minutes, and you can just kind of.
Barack Obama versus Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really
this isn't like finding the Game Grumps and falling in love with them when they have hundreds of videos and I'm nowhere near even halfway done getting through their archive. This is easy. This is a couple of videos a day and you'll be done in a month.
Oh boy. Well, I'm glad Mama Van at least enjoyed it. She said that is beyond hilarious. So thank you for sticking with us throughout the entire show, Mama Van. Thank you for your dedication to us. And Fred, okay, you've got what's this? Comic books.
Indeed. Originally, I was going to talk about the Civil War movie that is out, Captain America: Civil War, because I'm going to see it on Sunday and I'm super excited. But I decided to geek out just a little bit more. And for those of you that know, and for those of you that don't, May 7th is actually Free Comic Book Day.
Mm-hmm.
And basically every comic book shop you can go in, they'll have some kind of something going on. You can get free comic books. It's a really good way to get into comic books or get back into comic books or just keep building on your collection that you already have, however you want to do it. We have a local shop here in Brevard County down in Melbourne called Famous Faces and Funnies. It's been out for that shop's been open since the mid to late 90s. It's a long-running shop. It's moved locations a couple of times. And they're actually doing Free Comic Book May. And so every Saturday in May, they are giving away 10 free comics to anybody that walks in their door. They have a couple of different things going on. Basically 10 free comics every Saturday. Different comic book artists there that will be doing free sketches for people that are there. They're going to have cosplaying every Saturday through May 28th. So essentially starting later this morning, every Saturday through May 28th, they're open 11 to 9. You can go in and basically just immerse yourself in the world of comics. As another side note, they are going to have, if you spend at least $3, only $3, they have a whole nother section of graphic novels that they will let you pick one for free for buying something.
Ooh.
So if you buy a $3 comic, you will leave with the $3 comic you bought, the 10 free comics for Free Comic Book May, and a graphic novel based off of a box of graphic novels they have set off to the side to choose from. You cannot beat that deal. It is absolutely amazing. They're trying to blow this Free Comic Book May thing out, and I think based off of what I'm seeing, Facebook responses and the people I know that would go down there, I mean they're going to be packed. It's going to be a big deal. So I mean even if you don't necessarily live in Brevard County, but you're a neighboring county and you feel like making a drive on a Saturday, it'll be worth your time. I mean, again, the gas alone, if you drive from Orlando or whatever, drive out, get a bunch of free comics, have a good time, enjoy the day, and then head back out. It's well worth your time as a comic book fan.
And they're at 3020 New Haven Avenue West, West Melbourne, Florida. Their phone number is 321-259-3575.
Oh, and I completely forgot. Where their shop is actually, it's in a shopping center and it's kind of tucked back in the corner. And they are partnered with another business, and I can never remember the name of that business, but essentially it is a gaming store. And so all of your tabletop gaming needs and all of those type of things, they have them as well. They do tabletop game nights. They do Magic the Gathering tournaments. They do Pokemon tournaments. They basically any of those gaming type things that you would be interested in, they have a shop that they work with that they share space with. And so it's not just the comic book side of things. They have all of your geekdom needs, all of your nerddom fantasies wrapped into one building.
And speaking of those nerddom fantasies, I believe mine's next.
Yeah, hence the reason why I said I almost forgot.
Yeah.
Okay, Daniel.
My pick is Legendary. It is a deck building game brought by Upper Deck. The primary theming is Marvel. They just released Secret Wars and Civil War, which is tying in with the film, of course. But it is an incredibly fun deck building game with all the Marvel licensing. You get to play heroes, villains. There's two kind of games, and they're compatible. Tons of expansions. They even have niche characters like Captain Britain. It's fantastic. They're also done other editions for Alien, one for Predator. Apparently, those are compatible together. And they'll soon be releasing, for all of you browncoats out there, a Firefly edition.
Woo!
So it's a great game. You can play it cooperatively, where you have a villain and their scenario, and you are trying to defeat the hosts of Red Skull, Magneto, Mr. Sinister. Also, you could be going up against the heroes, in which case you could be going up against Nick Fury or
Professor
Odin. Yeah, Professor X. And no, the game is incredible amounts of fun. I know I have personally wasted hours upon hours playing it with friends. You can also play it solo, so you actually get plenty of bang for your buck. And there is also PvP. So if you're feeling like being more competitive or possibly, secretly planning against your allies to stab them in back, they have that for you too.
Nice. Good stuff in here.
So when you're out at that wonderful, comic book day, go see if you can pick up one of the first legendary boxes. I am almost certain you will have a great time with it. Also, it's easy enough if you have kids. It's easy for them to pick up and play as well. The artwork on most of the editions is incredible. If you're a comic book fan, you could go a lot worse than Legendary.
Okay, I see that they also have a lot of other card systems here too, but you're specifically looking at the legendary ones.
Yeah. Again, it's a system that I have played thoroughly. I know it's got the right amount of difficulty. They also have written rules on increasing difficulty. If you want to play Dark Souls level hard, or for some of our older listeners, Ninja Gaiden Black levels of hard,
Ow!
You can do that. Or you can have a good game night with friends, family, your kids, and have a great time. Introduce them to some of the lesser-known comic book characters, as well as the established fan favorites for Marvel. It's a great time.
Important note, this expansion requires a legendary, a Marvel deck building game. It is not a standalone product, so when you're looking at these, definitely watch out and make sure you get all your prerequisites in place.
Yeah. Well, there are two core editions. There's the standard legendary box, and then there's legendary villains. Those are the two core boxes. This also is a living, breathing game. Now you can just stay with those two. There's also a ton of different expansions. The expansions all are based off of the base boxes. The legendary Marvel deck building game, villains, and the base set is your core sets. But you can mix and match, pick what you want, use what you want, and it's not that hard of a game to set up. It's not that hard of a game to put away. It's quick play. It's a solid game.
Okay. So I'm looking just for the base game.
You were near it a while ago.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
sure I
that
was.
much material on it.
So I would click legendary, go down, scroll down, scroll down. There's legendary villains you just passed, which is one of the base sets. It's up. That's one of the base sets, and then directly below that, villains, is the core set.
Okay, villains right here. Okay.
Yeah, that's villains, and then right below villains is the original core set.
Okay. So basically, look for the one that's $60, $59.99, and that will be the base, and then you can expansions for $20.
I know that for with cool stuff, I got it for far cheaper than 60. That's getting it direct from Upper Deck, and then getting it shipped to you. But I know through Cool Stuff Games, if you are a regular customer through them, you can get it for far cheaper. A lot of places, to try and get the expansion sets moving, they will discount the core box. The other thing is, again, it's a living, breathing game. They try and do one small expansion and one big expansion every year.
Okay. Well, that's good. So, years of entertainment potential. Years, we say. Fantastic. And Michael, I see that you've added the IT crowd.
Yes, but they got brought up earlier, and it's just a great show. I've probably plugged it before, but I don't care. We again watched it on Netflix just recently, and it's too funny. So I'm plugging that again. But my actual big plug, I am teching for a show.
Okay.
It's a short run, but it is a paid gig, which is kind of nice. So I'm getting a little money to, basically just sit and watch a show and do some cues, which is awesome. And the show, it's actually being held down at the Roth Jewish Community Center.
Okay.
On corner Maitland and Maitland.
Yes.
For our Orlando audience, you know where that is.
It's Maitland and Maitland.
Yeah. And
attorneys at law. No, wait.
Yeah, and that's at the show, and it's starting this weekend. My first show is tomorrow, actually, and I don't know how long the run is because I'm only there for part of it. But the show is about a guy who I had never heard of. I'm like, what the hell is the show about? And then the music started, and I was, I know what the show is about, because the show is all about the life and the music of Harold Arlen, and he is the greatest composer that you have never heard of. This is the guy who did The Wizard of Oz. This is the guy who is responsible for Over the Rainbow. This is the guy who is responsible for Get Happy. Everyone knows this guy's music, but nobody knows his name. So I want to put that out there because you've heard his stuff, and I know you love it because everything he made is amazing.
It's an American standard.
Yeah, everything he made is amazing. Everyone's heard it. You literally can't get away from it because he's written 500 songs. It's everywhere, and no one knows his name. So I am going to encourage people to go out and learn about Harold Arlen and learn about his music, and since he is such an icon, get his music, support his estate.
Over the Rainbow was voted the 20th century's #1 song by the Recording Industry Association of America and the National Endowment for the Arts.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Arlen was born Hyman Arluck in Buffalo, New York.
He changed his name to sound less Jewish, so he could be more popular in the industry.
Yep.
Appeared occasionally as a band vocalist on records by the Buffalodians, Red Nichols, Joe Venuti.
Joe Venuti.
Venuti, yep. Leo Reisman, and Eddie Duchin. Nice. And, of course, lots and lots of work. 1929, the song Get Happy.
You gotta get up, come
Good
on,
old,
get happy.
The Jazz Age, yep. Born 1905.
Paired up with Johnny Mercer to write that Old Black Magic.
Yep.
Oh.
He wrote that.
You do so well. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Oh my gosh, this is quite the songbook.
Yeah.
Well, definitely go check him out, because you can't possibly be disappointed. There's something for everyone.
There is something in his discography for everybody.
Absolutely, great stuff. Great stuff. I'm gonna have to look more into Mr. Arlen.
And meanwhile, I'm channeling the the Swami here, Swami Pastrami. I'm channeling the Swami Pastrami, and I foresee in our future there will be an update on Andy's Plex account, the entire discography of Harold Arlen.
There may be. It could be a thing that happens. We'll see. We'll see what the Swami Pastrami can dig up from the internet.
We still need a tinfoil turban.
Yeah.
You hear that, internet? Tinfoil turban.
photo improvement is necessary. We seem to have lost Stephen, but that's okay. We're right here at the end of the shoe.
Yeah, we're done.
If he's able to pop back in, then he will. But otherwise, we're pretty much wrapping up here.
Yeah, we're done here.
Take the opportunity to do a quick search. The game store that's attached to Famous Faces and Funnies is called Get Your Fun On.
Nice.
And they also carry Legendary. I'm looking at their online store and what they have in stock versus, in the store and via online. And it looks like if you buy through them, instead of paying $60 for the base sets, you can pay $53.99. So you save a little bit going that route. And they do have the Predator, they have the Alien, and then a couple of other different tie-ins. Legendary Villains, Fear Itself, which is a Asgardian themed story. There's a couple of different things that they've got in there that are different than what you can find on the Upper Deck site. So
cool.
A lot of options.
Excellent. More reasons to patronize the people that we like. So there you go. And I think with that, we're going to wrap this puppy up. That's it tonight. We'll be back next Friday about 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, conversations could continue on the web. Head over to ORLYRADIO.com. That's ORLYRADIO.com for all the links right at the top of the page. And, do watch us live and chat with us if you can on Friday nights. If you've liked what we've done here, you can help keep the lights on. You can follow the Patreon link at the webpage and donate on a recurring basis at patreon.com/Cowan, C-O-W-E-N. That's patreon.com/Cowan. Or if an ongoing thing is not in your style, you can also do a one-time donation directly to us via the cleverly named donate button right there on the webpage. If that's too rich for you, you can contribute to the show with topic ideas, corrections, advertising offers, unclaimed lottery tickets, hate mail, unsolicited advice, whatever you happen to have at ORLYRADIOpodcast@gmail.com. And also leave us a voicemail at 470-222-ORLY. That's 6759. Or, you know what I really need you to do? Really, really super, super, super duper need you to do? Leave us a glowing review on whatever platform you found us on, and like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, subscribe to the Twitch channel and the YouTube channel, and all that so you never miss a beat. Can't thank you enough for spending some time with us this evening. Until next time, this has been O'Reilly Radio, part of the Cowan Services Network. Music for the show is created by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. Bye, everybody. Toodles!
Good night.